Welcome. Welcome to All Politics Are Local, America's number one
Number
political hip
one.
hop radio talk show. We are here for another week on All Politics Are Local, and we've got a great show lined up. We're going to have a brief conversation with Zaid, some updates on Mumia. We're going to have Leroy Jones, who is the chair of the Democratic Party in Essex County and future chair of the Democratic Party in New Jersey. He's going to be on here talking to us about what that means. And it's going to be a great interview. We're also going to have Linda. We're going to have, Zaid, help me out. We're going to have
Linda, Madam Pink Dragon Street. And
yes,
the creator, a powerful young videographer, couple of powerful powerhouses in our local art scene. Talking about the Black Lives Matter mural that was just done at Manufacturers Village in East Orange, and a companion exhibit that's done in Orange at a brewery in Orange. The exhibit is called "It Takes a Village." So we got some heavy local art to talk about. We haven't done that in a little bit.
Right, and she's been on the show before. Linda Street's been on the show before, and she's just a phenomenal force for art in the area. So we're really glad to have her back on again, so she can let us know what's going on in terms of art and in Newark and what that art is about, what it means, all that, right? And then after that, we're gonna have a conversation with Dr. Akhil Kafani, talking about the 100 days in terms of Biden. We're gonna chat up about that, and then we're gonna talk about other things that are going on with the wonderful Donna Williams and Zaid Muhammad. So we're going to have a big show. Then finally, we're going to have DJ Rhino come on and give us the state of hip hop. And he's having and another week with
Yes,
absolutely. So really good getting started. Now there's some update we want to talk about first, and that is we know Mumia had surgery. We knew that he came through that surgery. There's still a lot of stuff that's going on with Mumia Abu-Jamal. He has been in jail for over 40 years?
December will mark year 40.
40 years, right? And widely seen as being unjustly incarcerated. It is controversial. Like the police were like, "Oh, he deserves to be in jail." Most of the activists, many lawyers, many people who looked at the case were like, "Probably not," right? Like there's been a lot of discrepancies. He is widely seen as a political prisoner. There have been documentaries on him, and he was part of being targeted by COINTELPRO, right? Like back in the day. And we know this based on FBI records that have come out about him and how he was surveilled. So and tell us about there's even been exculpatory evidence found in the last year by a prosecutor that they're ignoring. What's up with that? Because I'm just like, wait, but if they found evidence that says that in the original trial, the person who testified against him was paid off, one
of these days we got to get a great brother in, one of my big brothers in black journalism, independent black journalism. His name is Lynn Washington. Lynn is Philadelphia based, and it's a colleague of Mumia. They literally came up in the field together in the Philadelphia area. And Lynn always talks about the Mumia exception. That there's always these exceptions that they make when it comes to certain laws and certain legal developments when it comes to Mumia Abu-Jamal. Yes, under the progressive DA Larry Krasner, who's been washed as one of the most progressive DAs in modern America. And whatnot, and all sorts of media, left, right, and center. On his watch, there was some several boxes of old files from Mumia's case, which included a letter from one of the witnesses. His name is Robert Schobert, who's a cab driver, who was paid.
Hey, how you guys
against Mumia, right? She got paid. She jumped in.
What's going on, guys?
You're just giving us an update on. Just giving us an update on what was going on with Mumia, right? Like, because a lot of people just don't know. And this last part, when it's just talking about like, how did you get? Like, there's a box that was found with exculpatory evidence.
There were several boxes, but one of the items amongst those within those boxes was a letter from one of the paid witnesses
Mm-hmm.
in the case, and you're not supposed to pay witnesses to say what you want them to say, right? That in itself was explosive. We already knew it.
Now
right? We actually had it in our hands now, and this particular DA, even after it was found, went back into court because there was a judge, a black Republican judge, by the way, named Robert Tucker, who said that as a consequence of all this going on, Mumia is entitled to another round of appeals, and he's the first to break with that, right?
Now we're gonna definitely come back to this because we always talk about him in each of our shows, especially what's going on now.
To be continued.
Well, to be continued even later, right? Because we're going to do a wrap up, and we're going to do a lot of that, and we are very, very happy to have the guest Leroy Jones, the chair of the Essex County Democratic Party, soon to be chair of the Democratic Party in New Jersey. For introductions, Donna, can you give him an introduction? Because we know, Donna, you are the person who knows everybody.
Yeah, later on right.
Networking. If there's somebody doing something in the state of New Jersey that's positive, Donna knows them. She has their card, right? She has their card. She has the information. Like, I need to know somebody who's doing, and she'd be like, yeah. So Donna, give this brother a proper introduction.
Well, it's what we do in the city of Orange, New Jersey. We make them and we send them out to the world to be change makers. And here we have Leroy Jones, who was born in the city of Orange, New Jersey, might I add. And he is the chair of the East Orange Democratic Party and the Essex County Democratic Party, and soon to be our state chair. Leroy is the person that, as Essex County goes, so does the state of New Jersey. That's what I will say. And right now, he's led our party during a very challenging time, during a time of change. And Chairman Jones is here to just talk to us about, as we move forward in the state of New Jersey and throughout the country, because again, I can't say it enough, as Essex County goes, so does the state of New Jersey. Chairman Jones.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on.
You're so welcome, family. For whatever reason, I don't know if I got some audio problems. Can y'all hear me on this side?
We can hear you well.
We can.
You're coming through very clear.
Because I'm sure Donna gave me a wonderful introduction, but I didn't hear a thing. But I know it was on point, and I thank you so much, Donna, for that wonderful introduction. Much love for you. My sister, in the fight against the pandemic, out there on the front lines with Donna, on a regular, at, vaccine distribution centers, trying to get the work in and get the word out.
Well, thank you. And can you hear us now? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good seeing you, Jonathan.
Good seeing you too, man. Good seeing you too. Last week, myself, Donna, Zaid, we're all talking about you. We're all talking, and we're trying to figure out. We were like, "Hey,
what Zaid say? What Zaid say?"
No, it was good. It was all good. It was all good. But we were trying to figure out, right? We know that your positions are important. We know that being chair of the Essex County Democratic Party is important. We know that being the chair of the state Democratic Party is important, right? We all knew this, but we're asking the question, well, what do they do? Like, why is this so important? What do they do? So
let me put it.
Can you settle this for us?
We were talking about you looking for the teachable moment.
Mm-hmm.
Last summer gave our community a chance to mobilize and educate our people in a long time, in a way that we haven't, around what coming to the polls means, and it certainly means more than just voting. What does it mean to really understand how to be fully engaged in the process of politics in your community, and how politics for the people are mobilized from the grassroots, and how that plays out within the workings of politics within a given party. So as an important player, we said it's time to bring him on and let him break that down for us.
All right.
So let me tell you what does the chair do?
So the chairs have a responsibility in the name of the Democratic Party, to galvanize, voters, to vote for a party like the Democratic Party, a party of principles. Let me just tell you about what moves me. What moves me is Black Lives Matter. What moves me is a movement, for, just, reputation that, George Floyd has left us. What moved me is, making sure that, our children and our schools are teachable, and, our children are ready. What moves me is making sure that, the mainstream and the foundation of our communities, particularly the underserved communities, are, represented by people that, that care, that are concerned, and that are ready to stand on the front lines. People that are not afraid, to go against the system, not afraid to, to buck policy, not afraid to change policy, and that's what it means to me. So, across the state, I think, as time goes on, and when I, when and the opportunity presents itself for me, which should be sometime in June, we're gonna probably see, a different approach to, to party politics, a different approach to mobilization, a different approach to communication, a different approach to engagement of different segments of our community to make sure that it's represented, in all facets in the Democratic Party. Sometimes we move away, from the basic principles, and some folks even forget, oftentimes where they come from. I live in a community that, is the foundation and the principle of, the underserved and, the underdeveloped at times. So that's what it means to me, mobilizing to change, to change lives, to change the future, to present a foundation for a generation that is coming behind us.
Now, I know, and I've heard from everybody, and I know this to be true, that you are very, very good at what you do, right? Excellent at what you do. And I know that what you're doing, based on what you said, has to do with mobilizing, right? You get people together. But I still don't know what you do, right? Like, I still don't know what does and Donna's always talking about civics. Civics are really important, right? And so I know what you stand for. I know that you want to mobilize people, that your causes of social justice are strong. But what does that mean? Like, why, like, what does the chair what can the chair do to effectuate those changes?
Break it down for him like he's a 6-year-old in Philadelphia,
Yes.
movie Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
So the chair's responsibility, is, to seek out talent. Talent in elected officials, talent in, people that want to serve. And those are the mindsets, that ultimately, change those communities, forward-thinking people, people that have, their finger on the pulse of, of a community. And, and that reaches in city halls, that reaches in, the county courthouse, that reaches in, the state legislature, that reaches in the governor's office, and that goes to the United States Congress and ultimately the presidency. So, so the chair's responsibility, is to help put together, a collaboration of elected officials that represent each community to ensure that, that community, has a, nearly flawless representation. And, that representation is speaks to policies, that are important to those communities. Our community policies that, that impact, Black lives, that impact social justice, that change the face of our community so that it's a better tomorrow, that, that uplifts the ability to provide quality education for children. That create a foundation for a better healthcare delivery system. That's through a litany of elected officials, but you don't have to be elected official. There's individuals that are on the ground in different capacities that that move policy from from different positions. Whether they be boards and commissions, whether they be social justice entities, whether they be not-for-profit organizations that that have a grip on our society. The chair's responsibility is to have relationships, not just from an elected standpoint, but through all those those important entities that I just mentioned.
So basically, you put a team together to be able to push certain types of policies over the
Absolutely.
line by recruiting political athletes, right? Like people who
Absolutely.
who can do the politics. So you're like a coach, right? And
Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
a bad analogy
Absolutely.
or
Absolutely. You put a team on the field. You make sure that you have solid solid members on the bench, because you never know when and if those vacancies occur on the field, that you got to be able to look down the bench and pull the next player in, to fill that gap, or to enhance that particular position.
okay? So in terms of making people runnable, so that actually explains a lot, right? Because you act like with there are some people who might look at that and say, "Oh, that's a machine," but you probably look at it and say that's grassroots politics. Would
That's
that be fair in
that's
terms of that back and forth debate?
that is absolutely fair. I mean, many people, take that nomenclature machine and make it something ugly. And in some places, it could be something ugly. Those that have the sincere passion to change society, to make society better. You know, yeah, it could be machinery, and a well-oiled machine, does its job. And if a machine's not broken, then, why try to fix it? But you could always try to enhance it and make it better than what it is. And, that's the mechanic that tinkers under the hood all the time, to make sure that, that machinery is better every day going forward.
And just to be clear, that machinery is within the political athletes, right? That are there, the people who are have a base or whatever. That's in terms
Well,
of the
it's
community activists.
they're part of it, and let's not make let's not mistake it and say that they're the end all be all. It's relationships like what we're doing right now. It's about teaching. It's about getting the word out. It's about recruiting in different fashions, and in different formats, and on different platforms. So as we have this discussion, there are listeners out there, and you guys have you've grown a very solid listening community, and that gives us the opportunity to talk about, to inspire, to arouse curiosity, and ultimately to recruit new people with new ideas, and and prepare them to be on that playing field as well.
And there's so many, and what you're saying is there's so many positions on the playing field that can be very local, right? Like district leaders or people who might be able to get like a few votes out on their block. That would
It's
also be
it's
a part of what you do. I mean,
Yeah,
ask
it's I
this
mean it's
question.
it's district leaders, it's community activists, it's electeds, it's individuals that that are part and parcel of a nonprofit community that services community. And I've said this to Donna, on so many occasions. You know, One doesn't have to have a title of an elected official. One doesn't have to have a mantra to be a public servant, as a labeling of councilman, senator, assemblyman, county commissioner. It's all in the individual, and that individual is a public servant, and in the truest spirit of public service, you find your niche, and you grow that niche, and you collaborate with individuals that of like mind, and like passion, and that's what makes the process so special. But we got to get more younger people, and through through platforms like our listening community now, to try to galvanize more young people in the process, to open up this world of of government, politics, and social services, and and all the things that that and the spokes in the wheel that make the world go round. This is these are the things that are so important. So, but carrying a title is not the end all be all. It's part and parcel of the process, but there's a greater foundation underneath that, that spur an individual desire to be part of the public service community.
Okay. Now, do we have any other more questions for him about the nature of political chairmanship or political leadership? I know we definitely wanted to get into a lot of biography, but do we have more questions on that? Zaid, Donna? Zaid, you are muted right
I'm
now.
steady talking and muted
all right.
to get out. I wanted him to get some shout outs from Principal Baruti Kafele, one of our favorite listeners and one of our favorite guests.
My brother.
Who shouted you out, Leroy, for influencing and helping them get that spot at Newark Tech. Without him, I would not have given leading Newark Tech a second thought. I am indebted to his brother, right? That's Baruti Kafele. So I wanted you to make sure you got that. And then you so just much. On the note that I really wanted to get at too is that how do where are I laid out the hot political landscape of the response, the social justice energy that's all about as a consequence of the challenges of police brutality and whatnot, and that there is this groundswell of young people trying to find their way beyond protest, right? How are you doing in this particular area now in the scouting and the development of young talent, and what do you look for, or what do you look for in the kind of talent that you want to put on your bench to get ready to move into the game?
So so there's a number of folks that I can point to that carry that those qualities. All of Assemblywoman Brittany Timberlake. She is one of our shining stars, and has a tremendous future. She's one that often said to me that she's going to remain an activist, and at the same time that she was going to be an elected official. I used to scratch my head sometimes and say, I don't know, Brittany, if we can do it that way, but she proved me wrong. And I don't care how old you get. There's never a moment where you can't learn more. And that was her teachable moment for me.
That's a mouthful. That's a mouthful.
Yes. There's young in the city of East Orange. You have young people on the city council like Christopher Alway and Bergson Linnaeus, and another young Brittany Claybrooks. That begins the foundation of our future. Now, I happen to be the municipal chairman in the city of East Orange, and what we oftentimes look for, and we oftentimes see it from individuals that perhaps are opposing some of our sitting incumbents, and when you can sit and watch, and that's why I love the election cycle, to see what talent and competition is out there, even if they're cordially challenging one of your own. And when you see that talent, when you see that passion, when you see their true desire to aid and service the community, you pull that person in, and and that's been part of my methodology, is watching everyone and and trying to seek out that challenge. It doesn't, I don't get offended when when folks run someone against our team, because that's how you see talent. That's how, if you're going back to that analogy of a professional, or a college coach,
a
or whatever
coach or
the case
GM.
may be, and you're seeing, you got your team on the field, and you're watching, the opposition play. Well, oftentimes you'll see somebody on that other side, on the other side of the court of the field that, that looks good and looks like they can play well in your organization. And when it's time to make trades, and when individuals, move on, you make a move to bring that person in. That's what I've tried to do, and that's the mentality, the philosophy that I'm trying to move to to our younger folks that are involved in this process, and hopefully we can try to take that mindset and move it around the state a little bit.
Oh, that's great, because like really good coaches love the competition and embrace it, right? They're like, because we learn from it, right? Win or lose, we learn from it, we're better.
Yeah, because like really good coaches Yeah, you can't get mad at people that that oppose you, because that's how you see talent. And when you see that talent, and usually after elections, we've had pretty decent success over the years. But when you see that talent, you sit them down after the end and say, look, let's break
Mhm.
bread. Let's talk about how we can do something together. How we can make an organization and your mission inclusive and stronger.
Do we have more questions on the nature of the job? Donna, Zaid?
Um, Chairman, can you tell me? I mean, been in you've been involved since you were a young person. What was it that inspired you to be a part of an elected official, and as well as to do the work? Because I believe there's a difference between campaign season and doing the work. So I guess the first part, what inspired you, and tell us a little, because everybody always will say that you're a politician, but there's a difference between being a politician and have a job to do. So can you speak to both of
Right.
those?
Yeah, my dad was my inspiration. He's since passed, and he was he was an all county, basketball player and football player at Orange High School, Donna's alma mater. And my father was involved in the process, and caught my attention at the age of 10 when my father would drag me out. Because my mother didn't want me hanging around the house, so he would drag me out, and I was in the midst of campaigns, but I watched, how my father, whose family grew up in projects, in Orange, if anybody knows, where Wilson Place and Perot Street used to be, and that was community within the community, and I watched my father, who was a mailman, a bus driver, worked his way up, worked in, city government, worked in state government. And, and when he was in, state government, he was, on the parole board. The specialty was juveniles. And my father had, that passion. It wasn't just all about, getting somebody elected. It was mostly about, raising the awareness in the community and trying to keep, folks on the straight and narrow. And, so campaigning was one thing. You're right, Don. That's one thing, but the job and the passion, and your belief in what you do, is, the foundation of everything. And that's, there was the inspiration that my father left me with. I would watch my father sit at the kitchen table, at wee hours of the night, and and just toiling over, whether or not, this person, was justly, incarcerated, and whether or not, that person needed a chance, to prove himself, as opposed to keeping them locked up, in some juvenile detention center. And he was serious about it. He lived it. He grew it. He was all totally absorbed in that. And that was his ability to, to help, just trying to raise, the awareness of young people, particularly young African American men. And so there was my inspiration right there. I'll never ever forget that. And that will never ever leave, my spirit, because I watch young men, out here day in and day out. Some end up, jammed up unjustly, and they get caught in, they get caught up in the system. And that's what, we try to look for in folks, that try to deal with, legislation that is not punitive, and and doesn't just, take, young, black people, and just destroy young black, men, and just destroy their opportunity for a future. So I know I'm going on and on and on, but
But
when I
no,
start
that's a
talking about my
good,
dad, I start.
That's good. We want it like
yeah.
that. We want you
And
to drive.
yeah, and that's a good transition right there, because this year, March 17th of rather 2020, um, the governor signed into law that persons that are on parole and probation can now vote.
Yeah.
Um, and and what and that brings in a whole nother voting base, Chairman. Now they while a person is sitting behind a wall and they're making their way out, they can be thinking about legislation that will affect them as they begin to transition their life back into society. So we're talking about, I think the number was around 80,000 new voters.
Mm-hmm.
Have you prepared any any conversations for them, to show them how to vote? Because I know when I'm out walking and talking, one, a lot of persons that are reentering are not even aware. And the other thing is they really they've been so disenfranchised for a long time. They have tuned it out, so they don't even want to talk about voting, because they don't believe that anybody cares about them returning into society.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I mean, that legislation was solid, because it gets, I mean, it gives back a right that was taken away, for whatever the crime, was. I mean, these individuals paid their dues to society, and they should be mainstreamed and fully, their rights should be fully, restored, which, that voting right was. We try to, what I'd like to see more of, is a, with, the, reentry programs that, exist, and, the transition back into, our, their societies, that, there'd be a toolkit, that, kind of encourages folks, not just to vote, but but all the, all the, the available benefits and social benefits that, are out there. Because right now, and this just recently happened, through COVID, when there was a mass release of, of individuals that had been detained, and they were just let out. They would just they would just allow, they were let right out, and they did not transition, into, the halfway houses, which, should provide, that toolkit that I talked about. They went right to the streets, and then, what happens? Without the, the appropriate, life skills training and education, they're either homeless, they're either back in because of, if they can't find, gainful employment, what they're going to end up, doing again. And, and, that's the kind of stuff that, we got to be, better and more sensitive to, because, we just put them on a cycle where, that, it's another, serious recidivism process, that ends up in the same, ends them up in the same place all over again. So, so hopefully that, that kind of zeroes in on, on that question that pertained to, parolees, the right to, right to vote. It's more than just the right to vote. It's, a whole set of life skills that comes along with that, and you want to be able to give them that toolkit that is, comprehensive all through.
Chairman Jones, I want to bring this back to your biography, because, like, yeah, I haven't really seen many interviews with you, so we're really honored to have you here today. And I just want to get to, like, what, like, we talked about your father, and I thought that was like moving, right? And that it talks about your ideology and really what you stand for when you recruit and when you do what you do. What was it like to actually get into politics yourself? Like, what were some of those steps? Who are some of the people who helped you? You can name drop people who were there for you, who mentored you along the way, in addition to your father, right? What was that like when you started entering into politics? What did that look like?
It's funny that you asked, because, I was a college student at Seton Hall, when I decided that I was going to run for a city council seat in the city of East Orange. And once again, I was all in. I was at the council meetings. Donna knows the process. You go up to the rail. You talk about issues in in your ward. And it was right before I was ready. Right before I was ready to graduate. And my father pulled me back and he said, "Look, either, you're going to go and graduate and, and pursue a career and then come back and do this, but to just jump out there and do this, and kind of like, put your degree and, your career secondary, that might not be the right thing to do. So I paid attention to that, and and I, kind of, suspended my campaign and, went to work in New York, as a internal auditor with Chase Manhattan Bank at the time. A couple of years later, I came back, bought my home in East Orange, and began to raise my family. Ran for, had an opportunity to run for city council, made a, ran. Had a very young, and an aggressive campaign with a number of young, youngsters that I went to, friends that I went to, college and high school with, and we made a really, really impressive run. Although we didn't win, but we made a very impressive run. Shortly
How
after
old were you
that,
then? How old were you when you made that run?
29.
Okay.
29. So after that run, in East Orange, guy by the name of Cardell Cooper, who was an up and coming young, politician at that time, kind of reached out, and told me that he was, going to be stepping down as a freeholder at that time, and they were looking for, young folks to run. And I introduced me to the folks in East Orange, in the same capacity that I'm in now as the chairman, and folks seem to like the youthful side of what I brought to the campaign. The next thing I know that I was the Democratic choice to replace him, and then all of a sudden once we got that all established, the Republican Party went and found their candidate, and his name was a name that I'm sure is going to ring a bell to all you guys. His name was Joe Clark. And
wow.
Joe Clark, the former
Patterson
principal at Patterson Eastside High School, my seat should have been, was a Democratic seat. It was a Democratic district, and Republicans went and recruited, Joe Clark to run. And that was a campaign that introduced, myself to, to basically Essex County and New Jersey, because of Joe Clark, and his notoriety. And they had just made the movie, Lean on Me, with Morgan Freeman. And, the press had covered, as the press was covering Joe Clark's entry into politics, they had to give me equal time. And, as a result of that, we won the election, but, it was.
You beat Joe Clark?
Yeah, I beat Joe Clark. Yeah, I beat Joe Clark. Beat Joe Clark. And,
without a bat.
Huh?
I said without a bat.
Yes, yeah. So it was. I mean, and he used every trick in the book to beat me, but it didn't work, and that started my career in elected office. I served 2 years on two terms.
Before you move on to the elected office, I do have some questions about the Joe Clark campaign.
Okay, come on.
And the campaign that led to the Joe Clark campaign. You said you ran a young, aggressive campaign to get the attention of the Orange Democratic Party. What do you mean by a young, aggressive campaign? What does that entail? What does that mean?
So everybody that was involved with my campaign was I told you I was 29 at the time. Everybody was my age. We were all in our 20s or early 20s. We thought that we had to look the political part, and that meant that we had to wear our white shirts and and ties, and and the khaki pants and the whole 9 yards. And the older folks kind of thought that was cute. And we did our mail, we did door to door, we did grassroots, we did debates, we did everything that we were supposed to do. I did. I did radio. And walked every day, talked to everybody, went to the local supermarkets. And as I said, everyone thought young Leroy is cute, and he's what we're looking for in young people. And it kind of caught the attention. And we came in second, to the at that time, the organizational candidate.
Now, the reason why I'm asking that question is because there are a lot of young people who are running for office, and sometimes I notice that
right on.
their campaigns become
not enough, Jonathan.
But sometimes I notice that their campaigns become like really blistering. Like they engage in personal attacks. It becomes really ugly. That it doesn't bode for being a part of something bigger. It is almost isolating sometimes when I see that dynamic, right? What would be your advice in that? Like, how hard do you like? What is your kill switch on the punch?
So, so you run a straight campaign. You talk about the issues. You talk about things that you believe will uplift a community. You talk about at that time it was parking. The tax situation, which is always a pocketbook issue for everybody. You don't get caught up in the mire of going toe to toe with personal attacks on another candidate. They never attacked me personally because they just never thought I had a chance. But I never had the notion to try to do that to anybody else, because I think you talk about what you bring to the table. You don't try to build yourself up by tearing somebody else down. And I think sometimes some candidates, not just young people, but older people get caught up in that nonsensical thing of negative campaigning. You stay on the issues. You talk about people, what people want to hear, and and that I think that endears you to the people, and the people pay more attention to you when you talk like that.
And along those same lines, one of the people who Lisbeth Mendoza asked, what's the most challenging part about starting a political career, and what would be your advice? I think that this is on the same lines as that last question. When you're getting ready to actually deal with that first campaign or even that second campaign, what are the basic stuff that you need to do?
Well, the basic thing that you should always do first and foremost is make sure that you put your family first. You gotta do that. Because at the end of the day, when it's when the campaign is over, when the walking is done, you got to come back home. And so you got to make sure that your family is a priority. And you got to hold true to that, because the family is the foundation for everything. And if you don't have family, then you can't go out here and talk about how to help somebody else's family. Secondly, and more importantly, is the ability to get people to invest in you. To invest their time in you, to invest their dollars in you, because campaigns aren't cheap. And I wasn't independently wealthy, then nor now, but particularly then. And just trying to pull together the finances to get your message out there, to get in somebody's mailbox, to advertise in the newspaper. Those are things that are important. Also making sure that you have folks around you that are willing to to help and give give their all to to the cause. It can't be it's not the cause to an individual, it's the cause to the community. And you got to make sure that you get a good core of individuals that have that same drive and passion that you do. So those are some of the fundamental things, but the first thing, always first, is family.
Now, how and this is the last question that I'm going to ask on this line. given the because we didn't go given what you just said about the advice you had for young politicians, people who are starting out, give me some of them stories for the race against Joe Clark, and like what was, because that must have been real interesting. Give me some stories about that.
So, you know, in high school and beyond high school, I was I was a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and and I appreciate this. So I'm at the the shop right in East Orange one day, and I'm introducing myself, and Leroy Jones, and people kept saying, "Oh, you're that big bad Muslim guy that Joe Clark is," and I'm like, "Huh?" And then then another lady, "Oh, I heard about you on the radio." Because he made up some name for me. My attribute was Yusef, but Yusef Muhammad is coming into your community, and and I'm like, where did that come from? So then we're riding, we're riding to the next stop, and he was doing this pretty much in areas like South Orange and Maplewood, where he could frighten people.
I can see that.
So we're in the car, and then when the ad comes on, he's little Leroy Jones in the suburban communities, but he's Yusef Muhammad in the East Orange and Orange community. And I'm like,
wow.
But it was first it was
and Joe Clark was a wordsmith, right? And so
yes. Oh my God, he was. I don't even know if it was a wordsmith. I mean, he was the word he was saying was, and yes, he was. But Joe Clark transitioned early this year, so let us rest in peace. I wanted you to know that he and I became good friends after that. We would have dinner at a favorite restaurant that he and I would both frequent, and and he became a good friend of mine. But for that period of time, if I said it wasn't stressful, I'd be lying. But it was, it's good to reach back and be able to talk about it and laugh now.
And I think that one of the things you talked about in the end was, like, you and him, after the campaign was over, y'all talked, y'all got along, y'all had dinner.
Yep, absolutely, and that's important because nowadays, this stuff gets, so vicious, and so ugly. You see it in New York now, with Governor Cuomo and just some of the candidates that are running, for mayor. It can get, awful ugly. I mean, our good friend, Raz Baraka, just with him fighting with the water situation, which he inherited, and the only thing he did, to his credit today, is cure the situation. But folks tried to make that his downfall. They didn't succeed. He's proven that he's delivered quality service and lead-free water.
Set a national example
today.
with that. Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff is has no place in it. But unfortunately, there are those that are gonna waddle in the mud, because oftentimes they have nothing else to talk about other than that kind of stuff.
Now you're bringing up the question about the future and what this means for, like, the future of the state. Donna, if you want to jump in here, or Zaid, you want to jump in here, because 94% of the Black community votes Democratic, and we know that on a statewide level, Democrats can't win without getting that level of support, right? Like, the majority of white voters in New Jersey have traditionally voted for the Republican, the majority of them, right? The majority, but a majority, usually about close to 60%, 58%, 56%, usually vote for the Republican. So what does that mean going forward? That's my interest, Donna, or that's how I want to frame it.
What?
Donna or Zaid, you want to jump in?
Yeah, we got elections coming up.
Zaid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a gubernatorial election coming up, and you're going to see that dynamic play out.
Well, what I would say is, Chairman, would you agree if Essex County came out at 100%, we could name the governor? Would you agree with that?
As Essex County goes, so does the state of New Jersey.
Right. Okay.
Wait, hold on.
And-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Continue, Donna.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You can-
No, when you
What were
said so goes Essex County, so goes the state of New Jersey, are Essex County's numbers that significant? Like, I'm asking.
Yes.
Yes.
So Essex County controls the state like that? Like, as in, if Essex County comes out and votes in mass, that will flip the state? If so, like, how did Governor
Let me just
get
put it in
elected?
perspective for you, Jonathan. The presidential election, Essex County's plurality for Joe Biden in Essex County's plurality in Essex County alone for Joe Biden was greater than Arizona, what was it? Georgia. Trying to think of the other states because I wish if I would have known this before. But it was five other, those five battleground states. Their plurality did not exceed the plurality that Essex County gave Joe Biden.
And by plurality, you mean the number of votes,
the margin of victory.
Wow. So
yeah,
in
so
terms
Arizona,
of state,
Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and there was one other. Those five states.
So really, it's so what you're saying is that, like, the rest of the state can be whatever, close, not, I mean, it's like 40, 60, whatever, right? But when Essex County comes in, that just swamps everything, right? Like, if Essex County is counted last, that means that you don't know who's going to win until Essex County rolls.
Pretty much. Pretty much. And that's why I hold the numbers back to make sure that happens.
But our folks listening, in Essex County listening to the show need to pay attention to that. We really need to pay attention to that, especially those of us who are like on the fence about this, about participating in this thing. You need to pay attention to this.
So that whole thing about every vote counting counts.
There's real stuff. That's definitely real in the last election.
Yeah, I definitely want Donna and Zaid. We're running out of time, but I know there's some questions that you definitely want to ask.
Donna, you go ahead. I mean, we got a lot out of our brother today, and I appreciate it. It was a good session. Very
what would you say? What is it that you want to say to our young people? Yeah, Chairman, we both work up at the vaccine site. They call me Miss Donna. And they call me the work mother. So I'm the old person in the room now. It's like so funny. So what do you want to say to our young people? And we have a great group of young people that we work with. And just, what is it that we want to say to our young people in terms of voting going forward and how important it is to get engaged?
Right.
And then one of the big things on the table is student debt.
Yeah. Oh, please. Well, the first thing I want to say to young people is that Leroy ain't old. They can call Donna that, but Leroy ain't old. So that's the first thing. But secondly, look, they, the political process, the governmental process, the social process is yearning for their engagement. It is begging for their engagement. It's time to kind of put down the cell phones, move away from the laptops, and look at the world that is in front of them. And when they see what you just brought up, Donna. There's student debt spiraling, and it'll take them, a generation plus, to cover that, to cover that debt. Their future and their safety, particularly young, African American men, what we have to, how we have to, prepare ourselves to just be out and about, and safe, from, individuals that, just haven't understood, what real law enforcement is about. It's preparing themselves, for, their own future, their own families. It's totaling, it's engagement, in a process that is only going to uplift and, make, the world a better place for them and their communities a better place. And particularly now, I'm just hoping that young people, pay attention to, what's out there in our environment, the pandemic, and get vaccinated. The vaccines are safe. I've gotten it. Donna's gotten it. My family is, nearly, fully vaccinated. Everybody's at least had one shot, and we're looking for more, more young people to pay attention to, to that. Because it's not just about you. It's about your mom. It's about your grandmother. It's about your children, and perhaps some that have children that are those that are that are unborn yet. It's about protecting them, and because it's hit our community more devastatingly than any other community. So we have to be very, very conscious of that. And and pay close attention to that, because if our community continues to be devastated, then the likelihood of our community growing and prospering, is diminished greatly.
Wow. And Donna, you are back. We only have a few minutes left, but we have that one question. Donna, do you want to ask that question?
Zaid, ask the big question. Yeah. Get Chairman with the
you're
big
more
question.
famous for this than you got us, our brother. But since she passed, she's being political now. She's gonna punt to me. But you've been on the show.
You've been on the show before, so you're just reminding us.
Okay, so Chairman.
Now you're going to ask it.
No, go ahead. No, because go ahead.
The question is simply this. This is a hip hop talk show. So the question is simply, what are you rocking? What are you listening to now? Or who are your favorite hip hop artists or group?
Lizzo.
Wow.
Lizzo.
Is she hip hop though?
Huh?
Is she hip hop though?
Lizzo is the complete package. Lizzo's a rapper. Lizzo plays the flute. Lizzo's an actress. Lizzo does R&B. That's why Lizzo is my girl. And Big Girls, one of her albums, is The Joint.
All right, so
that's his answer.
If DJ Rhino was here, I'd be like, DJ Rhino, is she hip hop? I gotta ask.
You can get with this, or you can get with that.
And here,
got his eye
Your band is breaking.
What would Lizzo say to you?
Run that by again, Donna.
Donna, you were coming out a little bit. Yeah, Donna, we really can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. Nope. So I think that's God's way of telling us that we need to be on time. I guess.
No, can you hear me now?
No,
stop. Can you hear me? Because I'm on 5G.
We couldn't.
Yeah.
You can't hear me?
Now we can hear you.
It's my signal. I'm going in. Okay. I have to, because sometimes the Wi-Fi goes in and out. But if you were to ask Lizzo that question, what would you say? What would she say?
If I ask Lizzo what?
No, not you, Chairman. I'm asking Jonathan. If you were to ask Lizzo, was she hip hop? What would she say?
Oh, Lizzo might say anything. She's very good at publicity, right? Like, so it might be anything at any given time. I like her. I think she's mad talented. I also respect her game, right? It's entertainment, it's a hustle. So if she has to go someplace with, no draws and sit down at a Knicks game, she'll do that. And people will take pictures. I mean, it'll be all over and people will talk about it more. I respect her game. She's a good multimedia game. So I don't know what she would say at any given time. So, I mean, that's and all respect.
That's right.
This is not disrespect to Lizzo. I don't want no hate out there. I know she got a lot of love. I want no Lizzo hate. No. Lizzo's awesome.
That's right.
I don't really know how
multi-talented.
That's
my girl.
Really, right.
That's my girl.
She's your girl. She's my girl too.
All right. Hey, listen, this has been a great hour for me, guys. Sitting outside of Rutgers, thinking that you guys were still up in there, but listen, I'm in my car sitting outside of Rutgers, thinking that you guys were still up in there, because Donna says she told me, but I don't think she did, because I wouldn't be down here. But anyway,
we are very glad to have you, man.
Hey, this is my pleasure to be here, and I'd be glad to come back anytime. I got much love for all of y'all. Y'all are family. Y'all been doing this, in terms of enlightening the community for years on end. I'm, just truly blessed to be, part of this hour with, with guys that I, and a young lady that I truly respect. Much love,
well, thank
family.
you so much.
Thanks, Chairman. Thank you.
We very much appreciate
you.
Thank you. And thanks for the information. And please come back.
Yes.
I will. Just let me
back.
know.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Open invitation. All right.
Peace, family.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So that's All Politics So Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. We are getting ready to transition to our second hour inside of the show, and we have Linda Street, who is just a fantastic artist who's coming up, and so thank you so much for coming. Zaid, can you give the introduction, because you give good introductions, and Linda Street, we want you to have.
You talking about Madam Pink Dragon?
Introduction.
This should be, but Kay should be coming on, and so should Malcolm. Malcolm is
coming on right now.
I brought backup. I brought backup this time.
There you go.
Right.
Because it's a whole squad of them in attack mode. That's what I'm talking about, right? One of the things that is healthy about this particular moment in our community is the emergence of a healthy, vibrant art scene, right? And I'm a performing artist, right? But these young heads here, and Linda. At first, let's start with Linda. Linda is like, you hear folks talking about trying to figure out their brand and whatnot. Linda was out in front of that a long time ago, more than most, and has set an example for many, and continues to set an example for many on that particular frame, on how an artist must take ownership, and I'm talking about from the business sense now too, of their art, right? And we all can stand to learn something. I know I got a ton of stuff to learn, because I've been so busy throwing rocks at the system, I ain't had time to take care of my business, right? So from afar, I've greatly admired her for the longest. You can't name a meaningful art project in this area that she hasn't had some ties to one way or another. But there are two projects right now that I wanted to actually to share with us. One is this fabulous, powerful Black Lives Matter mural that was just done in East Orange, just right next door, in East Orange at Manufacturers Village. And it's a place that a lot of people do not know about, right? And then down there's a brewery in Orange that's hosting an exhibit called It Takes a Village that she's related to. Now, our two guests, and they can better introduce themselves, and I'm glad this, I need to hire. I like to hire Kay for some stuff I need to do with my work, right? But some good, talented young artists. Malcolm, I watched Malcolm grow, right, and become the artist that he is, right? So the two, young artists. We got an intergenerational thing rocking here in this particular session about that mural, all that went in it, and a lot went into it. It's not just, yellow in the letters. This is genuinely artfully done, right? And a good number of artists brought the individuality of their creativity and making that mural really, really pop and make the statement that they wanted it to make. So that's what we wanted to get into, So let's ride. As we say in Chicago, let's ride.
That's a great introduction. I think you've done this before, Zaid.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me back. When I came before, we were just talking about, that was like last fall. I think we were just kind of getting started with the mural. So
yeah. But so go ahead and tell us. So tell us about the project, how it happened, how it got started, how it blew up, how it came together. Who are the other players? Who do we need to be, paying attention to, in terms of the artists and the art environment, the art hosts, that particular site, for example. Tell us the story. Just begin to tell us that story.
Sure. So the mural is actually located at Manufacturers Village in East Orange. And for a lot of people that don't know East Orange or are from East Orange and don't know that area of East Orange, this is a building that's been there over 100 some odd years. Same family has owned it. It's been home to a number of different creative businesses. A lot of artist studios over the last maybe 15 years have located themselves there. So there's sort of an artist colony that has developed in this space. And they reached out. I've done some things with them over the past few years, done a couple of pop-up exhibitions there. They've invited me to use space when it was available to do some things, because even though it's, some of the artists there it's a little isolated, they've always wanted to try to find a way to connect with the neighborhood that they're in and within the city that they're in. So they host every year. They host in open studios where people can come and visit the different artist studios. But they reached out to me last summer, and I think we were all doing the same thing, sitting at home, being, frustrated, hurt, angry at what we were seeing after the killing of George Floyd, and people all over the world hitting the streets, and, the pandemic and sheltered in place from COVID. And I got a call from Tom Nussbaum. So he's they have an artist committee there. So those are artists that are somewhat leaseholders in the space. And some of them have multiple studios that they lease out. But Tom, he's a really good guy. We've done some things together. We did another big mural project in East Orange out of his work in 2019. And he called and he said, what do you think about doing a Black Lives Matter mural project here at Manufacturers Village? And I was in. He had me right there. He said, we haven't figured out yet budget or anything like that. I said, I'm in. I'm in. And as it turns out, between the artist committee there and the owner, Tracy Hubert, that it's her family that owns the property, that was something that they were adamant about doing. They brought me on board as a project manager. We were able to get funding from Liquitex. They're a major producer of acrylic paints. It's a global company, but one of the committee members' husband works there, so had an in on some funding for these kind of projects. And from there, we just started thinking about how to frame it. I knew right away that Kay would be ideal to document. We knew we wanted to document the process. We started thinking about a lead artist. And of course, Malcolm came immediately to my mind, and also to Tom's. Malcolm worked on the project with me with Tom, the 2019 East Orange Boogie Woogie project. And I think, like you said, Zaid, I've watched Malcolm grow up as well, and I, just been so impressed with his creative development, his business development in this whole arena. So that was easy to start the team. And initially, we were going to look at picking 4 artists to create the mural. And at some point along the way, we got the idea to engage 16 artists. We did an open call. I think we got about 50 submissions for the open call, and we had a panel of jurors, and we decided to have them select 16 artists so that each artist could individually create their letter. That's what makes it so distinctive, that when you talk about each letter
So
being,
you had an artist for each letter.
yes, you had each artist has their own letter. So they're like 16 little mini murals. And all in total, it's 9,000 square feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's huge.
Incredible.
Yeah. And it's been almost a year-long project from inception to ribbon cutting.
So there are so many questions that I have, because I think the stuff that you're doing is so interesting. You are clearly an artist, very well respected artist. You said project manager. So how is an artist also a project manager? Like, that's just a question about me not knowing about art, and so maybe that other people can understand what, like, I think artists, oh, you're drawing a picture or you're painting a mural, right? And I say an individual artist doing that, and that's normally what I would often think of as art. Like, this is an art project. We needed a project manager. Help me out. What does that mean to arts?
So the thing about it, and I think probably this is what is kind of unique, I would say, about me. My background is, I come out of a corporate background. I don't come from an arts background. I've always been creative and I've always been artistic, but it was never anything that I envisioned being able to pursue as a career or anything like that. So I actually, I'm a retired corporate executive. I spent 30 years at Schering-Plough Pharmaceutical Corporation. So when I got involved in creative pursuits and artistic ventures, I was able to look at the business aspect of it, or the organizational aspect, or the administrative aspect of it. When you start talking about public art, the administrative aspect of that is as important as the visual aesthetics of it. So, that's something that, that's one of the things I'm proud of with Malcolm, with his company, with Yendor. They've got involved from both ends of it, from the aesthetics, and there's a technical aspect to that as well. People don't just walk up to a wall or walk and face down and start painting. It's almost like an engineering pursuit with especially with a project like this. But somebody has to manage so many moving parts. And so that's where my background has really served me well, in terms of administration and strategy and things like that, really come more from my corporate background, I think. I've been able to blend them.
And while answering, you said that if the administrative aspect is as important, if not more important, as the creative aspect, well, can you break that down a little more? Like, what does that entail, especially when you said public art?
Right. So, you're first to even to initiate a public art project, first it comes down to the space. If you're working with like our 2019 project was a city-owned space. So, you're working with city government, in that case, we were meeting with the planning department. We were also meeting with the council, the committee, finance committee, who is funding it, and it's being funded through CDBG grant funding. So there are certain things that you have to assure are met, certain criteria. So there's paperwork involved. You have to document, and you have to convey what you're doing. You can't just say on paper, I'm painting a mural. So there are specifics, there are guidelines, depending on what it is, subject matter. I've done public art projects in Newark that were sculptural in nature, working with Jerry Gant, the late Jerry Gant. And there are safety concerns if you do sculpture in a public park. There's certain things you have to be sure are met in terms of the criteria around those installations. So all of those kinds of things have to be addressed. You're scheduling time with people, you're engaging with lots of different people. So there are different elements when it comes to public art. Now, in a case like this, where it's private property, so that sort of takes care of some aspects of it. But you're dealing with the 6-person committee, the owner, 16 artists, and the sponsor, 3 entrepreneur groups, and then anybody else that you have to engage with during the course of the project. Somebody's got to kind of keep all of that moving, and that's what a project manager does.
Now, and this is where probably our other guests can come in as well. You spent a lot of time in terms of public art, murals, private art for public display. Why is it important? Why should we spend? You're talking about spending public dollars on pictures and art. Why is art important? Why is the stuff that you do so important to our community?
For a number of reasons. I think the most basic is just the visual aspect of the beauty, the beautification of a place. Art, colors, no matter what the subject matter is, people will see beauty in art, and there's a feeling that comes from that. You go a little further, and it is a vehicle for messaging. So very much like the Black Lives Matter murals, no matter whether they are the single color ones or some of the ones that are more intricate or the best in the land like ours, they send a message. Visual messaging is so important. So, public art, and it's not even new. It's always been used as a way to communicate, to uplift, to message. And I think now we're just seeing just maybe a resurgence of it. Just all around the world, actually. There's so much beautiful public art. And there are, from an economic development perspective in communities, particularly urban communities, when they are looking to, redevelop, the first thing they do is start looking at art, start looking at how to bring in artists and creatives to energize an area. So I think it's proven to be economically beneficial as well as socially and spiritually beneficial to people.
So, so we have our other guest, and you've dedicated much of your lives to art. Could you give us something about your backgrounds in art, and why is this important, right? Like why paint? Why, like, Newark is become really a center for the arts. I was walking down the street the other day, saw this beautiful mural. I was like, wow, that's cool. But I mean, that could just be me. So why is art? Why do what you do in a public way, right? And why not just go to a gallery and just try to be like what is the public nature of it?
So I think I want to piggyback off of what Linda said, right? The economic growth part of it is why it's so important. It's the first step into re-engaging with certain neighborhoods, but also it kind of feeds the soul of the neighborhood, right? Like, historically, we put up art in large spaces, and it kind of shouts out the pride of a space, right? And we kind of got away from that culturally, right? And now we're in a space where we're back to a space where we want to shout out who we are, and the best way to do it is through public art. And the best way to get that public art is to go through local artists, right? Because who else has the same pride for where you're from other than someone who grew up there? So why we do it is to sustain our lives as artists, right? Have careers, right? But the flip side to that is because it feeds our souls, and who else is going to speak about my community if it's not me?
Mm-hmm.
And for our other guests, what is your stance on that in terms of like why public art, and also just something about how you came to this, like, well, how do you came to being an artist?
What set you flowing?
Well, thank you for having me here and inviting me to your space, first and foremost. In terms of art, for me, it's inspiration. I feel like art is life. It breathes life into people. So when they're able to see these displays of public art, walking past it every day, or or sitting on a bus and you seeing this thing, it gives you some fuel, some energy, to maybe do something that you want to do, or maybe it incites something else. But I know for me, at first, like, I've just always been creative, and I just needed to find a way to express that. So that's why I first started being a filmmaker. But as I continued to do it more and more, I realized how important my messages were. I realized that not only visually, but with writing, with language, literature, we're able to push our culture forward. So it's important to put certain messages out there, because, like, there's other people pushing out messages out there, right? So we got to make sure the right things are being said, or I don't know. It's kind of a wrap for the.
No, and what do you mean by that?
Generation.
Like you see yourself as having to put out certain messages to counter other messages? Like it is a conversation that you're trying to be engaged in? I'm just asking.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily to counter other messages, but I mean, there are messages that I feel like
representation.
Like that influence young people, older people, whatever, in a certain way. I'll say for me, what's the saying? I can't believe I can't remember exactly how it goes, but once I heard this saying that was like, if the surviving lions don't tell the story, then the hunters will. And that's always like struck with me, because I feel like all through history, American history, whatever history, it's been dictated by certain people who create narratives, and those narratives aren't always true, right? Or at the end of the day, I'm learning so much about my culture and my people, which I thought I knew before. So I think it's important to have certain messages, and also to continue to say people's names. Like, as cliche as that may sound, I'm realizing how important it is for us to know and remember the people before us, and people that fought, or people that, stood for something, which is why we are where we are now.
So talk about some of the folks that inspired you. Let's talk about those names that inspired you.
Okay, well, I'll say growing up, one of the first inspirations was like Marcus Garvey, right? Because my dad was Rastafarian, and I started to learn, a lot about that. I'll say as I grew up, I didn't really think about it too much, but then high school and stuff, where I felt like I was a little bit lost, I started to look back again, and I always wondered, like, I'd question, like, why are our people the way they are? And I actually started to look up, like, the Black Panthers, for example. And then I started to realize, like,
I was going to say, Zaid.
Talking about talk double time. Garvey and the Panthers. Child, I'm going to get a hold of you.
Yeah. So those are just some things that really inspired me to like, not only be a cinematographer, like, not only just show up and shoot things, but be more present, like, in general in life and with my art and the things that I choose to be a part of. And luckily, I have Miss Linda here working with me, or actually I work with her, and she, puts me onto a lot of projects. And when she asked me, would I like to be involved with this, I thought it was highly important. Yeah, because it's like, it's beautiful work of art that are going to make people stop and look at it. Like, that's the point. Like, visually first, they see it, they're like, okay, what is this? But when you actually go to the mural, it's not like any other mural where they just put Black Lives Matter on the street.
Exactly.
Each letter has, like, its own message. And I mean, to my knowledge, there was no necessarily a discussion with the artist saying, do this or do that. Like, they came through and they showed up, and whatever came from their heart and soul is what was put out. And it's not just you see the letter, like, really, there's a lot of messages within each one, and I really appreciated just being a part. And one other thing I'll say is I realized also through working with Miss Linda and through the years of just, like, studying different people, how important it is to capture artists, capture the people that are creating, because, like, a lot of times we just do and do and do, but we need to have that documentation documentation, and I started to just realize how important documentation was. So I was like, you know what, this is something that's historic, something that's happened in the place that I've lived for many years. I lived in East Orange for 3 years previously to moving to Jersey City. But I just thought, like, if anybody else was going to capture it, I knew I was going to do it well.
Let me. I got to tell you something that you and your father would love artistically, right? There's a Jamaican artist by the name of Malcolm Benz, a brilliant sculptor, right? Marcus Garvey's surviving son, Dr. Julius Garvey, is leading a delegation to the African Union in August to converge with Mr. Garvey's birthday, August 17th, to present a bust to be put in the international headquarters of the African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, this coming August, right? So that's just some other,
cool.
connect and love and inspiration and whatnot to share. But let me, and I'll stay with you for a moment. I want to bring Malcolm and Linda back into this, right? Now you mentioned two iconic forces in struggle that inspired you, but you're a young filmmaker, right? Mm-hmm. And I belong to that generation that was taught, you go to school, get a good job, and you do all your other stuff on the side. Y'all are really bringing your stuff up front and daring to bring up front. So who are the filmmakers? Who are the filmmaking artists that inspired you, if you will?
I hate to say it, and I always say that before I say his name. I don't know why, but Spike Lee, honestly.
Spike was important to that, yeah.
Yeah, and I only say I hate to say it because I feel like he's just so popular that would be okay, someone's first choice right off the bat. But to be honest, that's like the first Black filmmaker I really ever knew of. Yeah. And then it wasn't only that, but all of the films that he makes, I just love how he captures our people, and that's what I really want to do. He doesn't like BS when it comes down to the filmmaking, and everything just seems so relatable. And not only that, he does it in his own way. He doesn't rely on huge production companies. He has his own, right there in Brooklyn, and I've worked with him for 3 years, So I kind of got to see, like how he moves, but I love that independence that he has, and I love that even in the time that he grew up in, when, people were definitely fighting, back in the 80s and things like that, but I just feel like for film-wise, he was really putting out like work that no one like necessarily expected, He wasn't sugarcoating anything.
Now,
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to try to bring everyone else back in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there seems like to be a mentoring process that you were describing between older artists and younger artists, and just bringing people in. Can you speak to that? What is that? Is that a thing, or is it just a coincidence now? What is the role of mentoring and just having making sure that people who are established are working with younger people? How important is that?
Well, are you asking the old person, or are you asking Malcolm?
I'm asking anyone, right? This is the question that's opened up for you.
I'll let Malcolm go.
And by the way, you do not look old at all. So if you're talking about now, it seems like all the young people actually here. So
bless your heart.
I'm asking who mentored you, Miss Street.
I say that, bless your heart. Then now you know. I said that like somebody's grandmother that I am.
No, you don't look like a grandmother. You do not look like a grandmother.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Proud. I have a belt buckle that says Grammy.
Okay. And people think you're wearing something else.
I am. Sure. I want to hear Malcolm's thought, and then I'll share mine.
For me, it's all about mentorship, right? Like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for really good mentorship. And I think Brother Zaid brought up a good point of coming from the generation of like you go get a good job and you put your creative things to the side. I think my mother comes from that generation. She very much opposed it. So she raised me in a sense to do the things that are fulfilling to me, right? Creatively, righteously. So I grew up knowing that I would be an artist. My mother wrote it in my baby book that what I did in life would be a part of art, right? And I would express myself for a living. And she also always made a way for me to work for entrepreneurs, right? So when I was in high school, my friends might have been doing other things, right? Maybe illegal things and working at a speaker store or doing other things. I was working a construction job. I was working for a black man in some type of way, right? So I've always seen myself and the men around me. I was mentored by artists who ended up becoming a very famous artist that me nobody knows. He raised me in art like a son, right? And in that mentorship, he didn't go to school. Well, he did go to school, but he was a college dropout, and he made education a point that, you know, even though I'm in pursuit of my art, that I should always pursue it in school, and I should take what I learned in entrepreneurship and apply it to education. So I kind of did that, and my mother backed it. So my entire life, I've been an artist. I've been in school for art. No, I didn't go to Cicely Tyson East Orange, but I went to campus, right? I'm a really proud campus graduate, class of '09. I'm one of the last students to participate in the animation program. And in high school, I was in like I was selected to be a part of Larry Lauria's like Disney internship, where we did a short film kind of thing, music video. I got to learn professional animation, and I went off to a historically black university. Something else that my mother instilled in me very early, that if I wanted to pursue higher education, it would be at a black institute, and it still would be for art. And I still chose my school off of things that felt familiar to me. So, I mean, like the chair in my department was a black man who looked like me, right? He had chinky eyes and a thick beard. He wore a kufi. He had a dreaded braid, you know. And when he saw you, he called you cuz, right? So, for me, it was always about picking what I wanted to do in life and pursuing those things. And I was backed in my household, you know. That's what really got me here. And it's the same thing in art and business. I'll be here as an entrepreneur or business owner or project manager or lead artist or any of those titles and arts administrator if it wasn't for Rodney Gilbert. He was the first person I see or I saw in real life that was black and owned and operated a nonprofit and really understood the in-betweens or how to navigate municipality and education and artistry and business and contracting. So I learned that from him hands-on, and it kind of coincided with some of the construction background I had. So, and my education, it was like the first time those two things met. So, you know, mentorship is really big, and my cohort and my team, you know, we do the same thing. We have a set of young men around us and young women around us who really want to pursue the arts and they want to learn how to navigate this end of it. And we let them know it's a real thing and you can figure it out how to make this your everyday career choice.
Good
Wow.
stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Long live Rodney Gilbert, by the way, too. Rodney
yes.
Like you know, him and Linda like being Bob. You know.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of what they brought, in terms of, you know, the comprehensive packaging of what it means to be an artist in control of your artistic destiny, right?
Yeah.
It's something that we all appreciated about him, and we definitely appreciate you about Linda. We're glad we're still with you, Linda. I want to shift gears with you because first I want to acknowledge what you're rocking, because I see you rocking your own stuff, right? Folks need to see. Right?
Oh wait, you make your own clothes and jewelry? I'm asking.
Yeah. Well,
that is definitely her stuff you got on.
This is Pink Funk. This is mine. And then the jewelry, I started a jewelry brand with my cousin a few years back, Lily and Me, and now she has taken it off and running. So this is Lily and Me by Misty, and this is Pink Funk by me. And my Pink Funk brand is carried at House of BAV on Main Street in Orange. So you need to pop by.
Donnie, are you hearing that?
Right. So you are. So you
Yes,
are.
I
So you
am.
are. Part of
Hey,
your
Donna.
art is fashion design and jewelry making.
I do. Yeah, I don't even label. I just do what I feel like doing. So whether it's I do graphic design, clothing design, T-shirts, project manage. I'm just blessed to have reached a point in my life where I just try to do things that are meaningful, that make me feel good, that with people I enjoy, you know, maybe bring a little something to the world or to or even if it's just to me. Some stuff I said, if I end up with a house full of my own work, I'll be happy. I'll just, it's fine.
Where I was going.
I love that necklace, Linda. Yeah.
Thank you. Lily and Me by Misty.com. Shout out to my cousin Misty.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, Lily and Me by Misty. I'm the Lily and Lily and Me.
One of the things that you're doing that's also very heavy to somebody that we love. In fact, the last segment of artists that I produced for this show was dedicated to Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm talking about Jerry Gann for everybody's in our listening audience's background. Jerry Gann was a peer of mine, but like a little brother. And watching Jerry, mature and become the incredible artist that he became. I mean, he was prolific. He really put out a lot, and he also became a great teacher of artists. We're just talking about mentorship. But one of the things that Jerry was worried about as a young artist is what happens to our stuff when our time comes to leave this plane to move to the land of the ancestors, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes, we lose the work of great artists when that thing is not thought out and not taken care of. And we lost Jerry. We didn't, we didn't realize that was coming the way it came, but we did. But one of the things that you're doing as a part of the many faceted things that you do, then is that you are now responsible for his creative estate, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's something to consider. Talk about that particular labor of love that you're doing now for our brother.
Okay, yeah, that's not something that I would have ever expected to be doing. It's weighty, but it's important, especially when it meant so much to Jerry. So representing his estate and his work, wow, 4,000 pieces of work we moved and inventoried in the course of the move. And so trying to, identify what you have, photograph what you have, is some people have estimated something that can take years. And we've gotten the process started. I'm curating a solo exhibition of some of the work, and I'm excited about that. That's going to be with Rutgers, as a matter of fact. So that's going to be at Paul Robeson Galleries. We just don't have an exhibition date yet. But we're looking toward the fall for that. And I think the thing is that Jerry was even at an early age, he was preoccupied with this idea of legacy and what his legacy would be, and he worked in that way
it drove him.
Yeah, even when I'm going through, I'm finding things, because you have the artwork he created, which is across every genre you can imagine. Congressman Payne said that Jerry never met a medium he didn't like. Everything was art. He saw art in everything, but then he was also a collector of things and of information. So he has these archives that are amazing, that tell not just his story from the 80s to 2018 when he passed away, but also those of his colleagues, contemporaries, people that we know, y'all. I may pick up a flyer, your name might be on it, Zaid, from an event, or Raz Baraka Poetry Night when they were doing those events, and Juba Dabdell, and people who are, doing different things now. He has their story. So all of those things are important. And, I'm just in working with the family and just looking at the way to do this and continue this whole process in a way that respects his work and really what he wanted.
And Linda, let me just say, my cousin Adrian Lockett passed.
Yes.
And the same, Sugar had, as we affectionately called her, Sugar. Her work was just, the work she did
Incredible.
was exactly. And one of the things I remember being at the Congressional Black Caucus, and one of the congressional members actually did
a forum on artists for that very reason, or how do we maintain their legacy, if you will. And I hope that we can do that locally, because you don't, I mean, you plan, but sometimes we fail to plan, and we just not expect Sugar to be gone so soon. And I just think her, Jerry, their artwork, I don't know if it's something, to form that you can do somewhere down the road, and to how do we prepare, and as much as, leaving, because you can't recreate her work, because of course there's no more Adrian Lockett's, and as well as there's no more Jerry Gans. So how do we just prepare for these days and continuing the legacy? And even and one of the places, I know when I went down to DC, down to the African American Museum, that they do have space for these type of things. So I don't, it's just a thought,
I think what happens is when you go through work, you start to, and first of all, let me just get this out there. It's an expensive proposition. It is, one of the things about Jerry was he was not a pass the hat kind of guy. So part of his mindset of making so much work was for the work to be able to sustain itself in a way. So when, I've been able to secure acquisitions with the through the North Museum of Art, and private collectors who reach out, and so we've been able to place work. We have an acquisition proposal now being reviewed by the Gilbert Arts Collective building, where they're going to put some of his work, purchase some of his work to go in that building, and that the resources that come from some of these acquisitions that we're able to secure goes back into funding all of the work that has to go into even this inventory process. But you start to look at the work in terms of what you want to retain within the state, what you'd be willing to let go, to sell, whether it's private collectors or institutional collectors, what you want to exhibit, that kind of thing. So it's a process, and I think there are some things that you can do to prepare. I've had some conversations. There are artists who have been reaching out to me about it. In fact, some older artists, not that age is determination.
Like me. Yeah.
Have asked about it, and there are some things that you can think about. So I'm always happy to share whatever I learn, but I'm learning as I go. I have to say that too.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
One thing I just want to hit on something, because
we are coming to the end of this particular section. So I want to thank you so much for coming out and for all the things that you've been saying. But I want to add, I just want to ask that final question that we ask of all our guests. Now, you've been on here before. Zai, do you want to ask that? And to finish out that last question?
Yeah, I wanted to squeeze in a word or two about
we have very little time.
Real quick in Orange.
I'll make that my answer to whatever he asks me. My answer is going to be,
the general question the question to everybody, right? Aside from what I was going to ask Linda, is this is a hip hop talk show. Who was your favorite artist or group in hip hop, or who are you rocking right now? Now, Linda, before you answer that, Linda, I want you to just give us a few words about It Takes a Village at the brewery in Orange, because I know Donna would be mad at us if we didn't get that in.
That's right. I'm going to use my time to answer that question. I'll let the young heads talk about, because I talked about my hip hop answer last time. So yeah, It Takes a Village, the exhibition. So this is an exhibition of the 16 mural artists plus the other 6 or 7 artists who are all part of the mural project. So this is exhibiting their own work. This is the idea of being able to, most of the work is available for purchase. It's going to be on display. And we have a collaboration with the Forest City Brewery, where they have a beer can that the label features the mural work from. So that's the other part of us being there, is to promote. You can buy the beer can with the commemorative Black Lives Matter mural label, and you can see art. It's going to be on display through the end of June.
All right, Malcolm and Kay, y'all can jump in on who you rocking right now.
That's That's kind of hard. I don't really have one. I'll say like I like Lil Baby, but I wouldn't say he's my favorite. I started to go backwards in time and actually was listening to like Nina Simone my whole ride. So that's not really contemporary hip hop, but yeah.
That's what
So
you
I'll go
rock.
Lil Baby. That's what I've been listening to the past couple days.
Okay. All right.
And I'm gonna answer all the questions. My favorite all time is Kanye West. My favorite group is Wu Tang, and who I'm listening to right now is Freddie Gibbs.
Pretty good.
All right.
Can I
Alright.
say what? And this will be real quick, Jonathan, I promise, but I
Sure.
have to say this. This is something I said during my remarks with the ribbon cutting. In 1975, there was a young man. He was East Orange family, Derek Humphrey. He was killed by an
Police.
off-duty police officer, and he was this project triggered that memory for me. That Derek was the first person that I knew that had that situation, and it happened down the street from my house on Brighton Avenue. And you know, his mother worked at the high school. His father worked for the recreation department. He was headed to college. And he was unarmed, sitting in a car, and he
Horrible
was killed
story.
by
Yes.
off-duty police officers. So I just wanted to invoke Derek Humphrey's name. And of course, this is pre-hashtagging and pre-social media, pre-Black Lives Matter. And he was
And
one
Linda,
of
he was a track star, right?
he was
a
a track star. He was a diver. He used to swim and do all these things.
Had
And
a real bright future. It was a horror story.
yeah. So I just need to get that in. So thank you.
No,
Awesome.
thank you. And actually, Miss Street, we want to definitely have you back. And we want to have you back before the
Like
exhibition is
Saturday
over.
Night Live, where they ask the host, and then you get a special jacket when you come back certain number of times. So I want to be the most have the
But we
most
can work on that.
experiences.
That's
That is something we
SNL,
gotta work
Linda.
on.
Yeah, we
right?
gotta get some
Okay.
more
Because even if you're talking about this exhibit, there's just so much richness inside of that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like
And
talking
we'll come
about
back to
who's
talk
there.
about the documentary. Kay's
Yes.
working on a documentary. That'll be the next thing we can talk about.
All right, that
Linda-
sounds great.
Linda-
So thank you. Thank
Linda,
you so
you just
much.
gave yourself a job. You have to make us a T-shirt that we can give our persons that have been on the show 5 times or more.
Also,
Right.
okay.
So thank
Well,
you.
look how we're working together here.
Absolutely. So
Hey,
thank you so
Timmy,
much.
you gotta let it
Thank
flow,
you.
baby.
We
You
are-
gotta let it
Yes.
flow.
Thank
you so much for
Love
coming
you
out.
guys.
Have a
We
good night,
appreciate
everyone.
you so much.
Thank
We
All
learned
right,
so much.
thank
We'll
you.
definitely
Hey,
have you
I'm
back.
Proud of you.
rolling with me. Bye, guys.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right, take care. Thank you. All right, and that is All Politics Are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. We have on coming in for this section. We're going to be doing two things. We're going to be doing coming in next. We are going to be talking. We're just trying to make sure that we have everyone. It sounds good.
Somebody has feedback.
All right. Yep. So we're just turning off some of the stuff for feedback. All right. So we have a special request. We are getting ready to start a segment talking about Biden's first 100 days, and we had Leroy Jones on here this show, and we know we're going to have a conversation about those first 100 days, and we did not ask him about the first 100 days. So we're bringing him back just to talk about that and just tell us what he thinks about the first 100 days of Joe Biden, because a lot of politicians are commenting about that right now. Thank you so much for coming back. What is your stance on the first 100 days?
So, look, every president for, the last, 9 decades has been judged on his first, 100 days. It's some, arbitrary, benchmark that, has, governed, every president, since Roosevelt, I guess, or, even further back. But, I think when we look at Joe Biden's first 100 days, I think, he has, had some significant successes, particularly with the pandemic response and the vaccine rollout, which under the former we call him president, but he never acted like one. That was a disaster, and they were in total denial.
social justice, legislation, just named after, George Floyd, has, been, part and parcel of, that 100 days, rollout. And, it, in my estimation, has been, quite successful, and has an agenda that embraces the entire country. As Joe Biden campaigned on, he was looking to restore the soul of America, and with a bill that deals with infrastructure, which where we live in our urban communities, the infrastructure is crumbling, we talked a little bit about the lead pipes in the aging infrastructure, so many individuals that perhaps subject to that issue, that's part and parcel of this aggressive agenda that Joe Biden's rolled out. So it's an agenda that embraces people. Where his first stop to stump on his agenda is where else? Georgia. And that is significant in itself because of what this past 2020 election resulted in Georgia with two Senate victories in a traditionally Republican state. Pandemic relief and aid to fledgling businesses that suffered by way of the pandemic. So I think it's a response that's appropriate, swift, and hopefully Congress sees the merit in that, and particularly those on the other side of the aisle in the Senate. And the Senate is very, very delicate in terms of its votes. It's typically going to be a 50-50 proposition, but Vice President Harris is the Senate president, and in those situations, her vote is going to be the swing vote.
Now, do you think that the agenda that he put out in terms of the infrastructure bill and those other things, you said that there's a 50-50 vote based on the rules of Congress, based on Joe Manchin, based on other things in politics? And the reason why I really wanted your opinion on this is because it seems like you are a political person, right? Like you spend times in the weeds on the politics and you study it, right? Like you study politics, you love studying it. So how much of this do you think he'll be able to get past? Or is this, because a lot of us are very cynical. Do you think he's putting out all these progressive policies knowing they can't get passed so he could say he did it? Or are these things, do they have a chance of actually getting passed?
I think they have a chance of getting passed. It becomes very difficult, in states that, you represent, to come back to people who are, struggling, particularly, you mentioned Joe Manchin and West Virginia. West Virginia, is, a blue collar, coal mining state. That has been victimized by the pandemic in terms of job loss, loss of life, for Joe Manchin to start playing with the litmus tests of which way the wind is blowing. It only has to blow to the benefit of the constituents in West Virginia, and for that matter, other states that are in the Deep South that still are ravaged by the pandemic. Numbers somewhat are ticking up positively, and hospitalizations are increasing, and people are trying to open up America again. But we have to realize that America and the economic depression that occurred in America was a year long, and year plus long, and that recovery has a long way to go. It just doesn't start with that opening up on June 1st or July 1st, as some states are doing. So, so it's going to be, it's going to be a pocketbook issue, and it's going to be an issue that is going to be hard to turn its back on, particularly when it has benefits to, the folks that, it's intended for. and people that vote.
Now, I definitely want to get more of your expertise. I want to bring in Zaid, Donna, and my good friend of 30 years. And by the way, I'm gonna give you a really good introduction right after this, right? Like after this segment, I'm gonna blow up Bashir in terms of like, yo, that's my friend who's here. So I need to give him his proper introduction. We'll do that after these questions. But to more plug into your brain on this first 100 days, Bashir, Donna, or Zaid, do you have questions to ask him on that?
Well, I think one of the things I think is important that Biden absolutely did that could have happened in New Jersey, bringing it back to the local, right? The administration prior to Mr. Murphy, that's one thing that Chris Christie passed on and would have boosted this local economy in an enormous way. And Republicans, that's used to use back in the day, that used to be their thing. But he passed on it. And a lot of folks are still scratching their head on how the hell he missed that, right? So the fact that this is happening on the national stage right now, that's important. We got what Raz did from in Newark in terms of redoing the water situation and whatnot, and setting a national model and whatnot. It's an important thing that that gets at the heart, the bread and butter kind of thing of making an economy move that moves for everybody, as opposed to just a handful of wealthy corporations and a handful of wealthy billionaires that puts people back to work, and helps get the economy moving in that fundamental way. So I just wanted to acknowledge
do you have a question
to that.
Do you have a question to ask him, like specifically about that?
No. I just wanted to share that comment.
Okay, cool. I want to try to get as many questions as I can to the chairman on this. So, Don, did you have any questions, or Bashir, do you have any questions for him?
I think, Chairman, you spoke about the infrastructure, but I think, do you agree that the infrastructure might be the thing that gets him to reach across the aisles?
You would hope so, but they keep saying it's too expensive and it's excessive, and and I don't know whether they're looking for campaign fodder to create an opposing message to Joe Biden for excuse me, for 2022. That's just Republican banter for the most part. Right. What it does is it creates jobs. It saves lives. When you're talking about replacement of lead lines, replacement of bridges and tunnels that are crumbling, and it enriches our ability to travel from community to community. It has an environmental justice component to it, where greenhouse gas emissions are reduced through like 30 years out. I can't remember exactly what the year was, but it has a host of things. Increase in the minimum wage, federal minimum wage. There's a plethora of things that we have been looking for. We've had some successes here in the state of New Jersey and in other places, but the federal government has lagged behind because of this institutional gridlock.
Just a quick follow-up. I'm sorry, just a quick follow-up. Okay. I don't, by chance or circumstance, have we positioned ourselves, Mayor Baraka, in terms with the lead lines? We have Maria from Ironbound with the environmental. Have we positioned ourselves to kind of be a model for the rest of the urban cities?
Yeah, I mean, Newark has been, just that. I mean, I take my hat off to Mayor Baraka, and it was a partnership with the County of Essex, County Executive Joe DiVincenzo, the Board of Freeholders, the Newark City Council, the Essex County Improvement Authority, and to some extent, there's the state of New Jersey, its local finance, board. All collaborated to provide the capital and the funding through bonds, Newark's, progress toward, just replacing those old lead lines, has been, a tremendous success. And, I think they're getting to the point where they're near completion in the, in the areas that, were mostly problematic. So, yeah, it's been a model. Some people tried to liken it to Flint, Michigan, which, was, some of the nonsensical stuff that we talked about when people are campaigning in the other segment. But, yeah, no comparison at all, none whatsoever. So, we got to look to Newark as a model, and one of the older cities in the nation, that has come far, far longer than most most other cities that have similar problems.
And so, Bashir, do you have a question to ask on that first 100 days to Leroy Jones?
Don't sick Bashir on me, man. Why are you gonna do that?
He's gonna have a good question, and you said in the last segment that you like good questions.
All right,
Look,
Bashir, come on, man.
Brother Chairman, I'm concerned about Black America, brother.
And Chairman, I'm sorry, I don't know if you know, Bashir was in the hospital, and Bashir, we're happy to see you back and to see you on the line. And I'm glad that you went out fighting COVID and you came back a winner. So I'm glad to see that.
Oh, my brother. I didn't know that, my brother.
Yes.
God bless you, man.
No, thank you, man. First of all, I'm thankful to the Creator and the ancestors to be here, because I got the worst version of coronavirus, the coronavirus that kills people. And so, the coronavirus is that I got was it gave me pneumonia in my lungs, man. So I couldn't breathe, man. And that's a very scary feeling when you can't get any air. You can't get any oxygen into your lungs. And so I thought it was some dark times, man. Dark times. But thank God I pulled through. Had great support from family and friends. Big shout out to my brother John. Big shout out to Donna Williams. Big shout out to my brother Ed. Baba Zaid checking on the brother. So many brothers and sisters. So helped me to get through it, man. But it was very scary. And I tell people that coronavirus is not a conspiracy thing. It is real. Okay, it is real, and it's a very deadly virus. And so I'm thankful to be here.
But thank God, my brother.
No doubt.
On your feet.
Absolutely, man. Still in recovery. I've been really on the down low, man. Just
all right. The day at a time, my brother.
Take as much time as you can.
Right, and but we want your question, man. We want your question.
Sure. The question, I was saying that, I'm always concerned about Black America. My people been suffering for over 400 years in this country, and white supremacy and systematic racism has been at the root of the disparities, social economic disparities in Black America. So I say all that to say this, Brother Chairman. Will Biden support a reparations bill? Now we have reparations. We have the HR 40 that was just passed in Congress, which is a study. But I'm gonna tell you something, Brother Chairman. We don't need a study. I heard Mayor Baraka say this too, and I agree with him 100%. We don't need a study. We already know. All right, we already know what has happened to Black people in this country. And so, will we get a reparations bill? Because, like I said, our people are suffering. When I walk out my doors in East Orange and Newark, brother, we in bad shape, brother. Businesses not owned by Black people, right? Black people begging on the streets, man. I mean, and a lot of this stems from, like I said, systematic white supremacy and systematic racism. So again, my question is, will we get a reparations bill to address these long-standing problems in America in terms of Black America, in terms of Black people in this country?
Right. Well, look. Let me just say this. That I do support reparations. And reparation bill, but let me define that. I don't. And I'm not talking about a check
Right.
that folks get. I'm talking about I'm talking about building education. I'm talking about dealing with and providing an upliftment for social justice. I'm talking about jobs. I'm talking about college. That is the reparation that I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Now, will there be a bill? Yeah. People can, anybody can put up a bill, and I don't know that there's a bill in Congress, right now. That's probably a better question for, somebody like Congressman Payne or Senator Booker. But let me say this, a bill can be introduced, but it has to pass both houses, and the America that we're looking at now. Unfortunately, is not the America that we, typically want to see them express in textbooks, and that is our problem, and and I believe that Joe Biden, would be of the same mindset. I can't say that I've had a discussion with him because I haven't, but when you measure the character and the content of a man who talked about the the restoration of the soul of America, which was a theme that was created, that was coined by Martin Luther King. You have to, he has an understanding, of the plight of our community. He can't live in our shoes, but he can watch it and understand it from the, from the outside. People like Jim Claiborne, who clearly was the turning point of Joe Biden's success to the White House. Said, and Jim Clyburn, certainly knows this coming from South Carolina, that Joe Biden's heart and soul, and his recognition of, the history of the black man in America and the black woman in America is one that, is much different than, his white counterparts, because, he knows, he knew us, and, and he's indebted to us, and he knows how he got to the highest office in the land. So so there is a lot of work that has to go into changing the climate and the culture of America, so that we can see a bona fide reparations bill. And we don't want to get caught up, like I said at the outset, of the folks trying to change the messaging on that to make it seem like, oh, we're going to give black people a check, much like the whole notion of 40 acres and the mule. No, that's not it. A check doesn't doesn't change the condition of the black man in America. What changes the condition of the black man in America is opening the world up and paying it back for all that we've missed through 400 years of ex-slave labor. That's what changes the culture, and that's what gets us, to the real discussion around reparations. Some people say, "Well, look, y'all should drop the labeling of reparations." And I say, "Well, so you tell a Jewish American to drop the label of the Holocaust and see what they say."
That's right.
So I have one last question on this, on the 40 days, right? I mean, the 100 days. And all the mayors have been asked to rate the president like a grade, right? A, B, C, D, F, right? Politicians have been asked to rate the first 100 days. What is your rating of the first 100 days?
I think I would
a letter grade.
I think I would give Joe Biden an A on his domestic approach. I think from foreign policy which is very delicate these days. I give it a B plus. There's some challenges with immigration. There's some war torn rhetoric that goes back between this Cold War between Russia and the Middle East, which needs to be ferreted out. So that's to be determined. But I think he's taken a much better position, and he's developed a much better reputation than his predecessor around the world. But definitely on the home front, I give him an A. For taking us to the point that we are through the pandemic with his response to the social justice legislation named after George Floyd, with beginning to building an infrastructure that embraces economic recovery, environmental justice, and as I say, and I underscore, a social justice, agenda that speaks to our community.
You know what, Jonathan, we may have to do this in another show, but Chairman, you brought up a point in terms of immigration, and this probably would have to be another show, but immigration, the challenges, and where this is going to lead us, because I know you're preparing for the result of the census and redistricting, but some of our states, as a result of the last census, it seems that the last administration was successful, because California may be losing a congressional seat, Florida may be getting one, but that all goes to the immigration and how successful they were in their messaging and putting fear in people around immigration.
Yeah, that's a good point, Donna. The states that pick up seats, seem to be, Republican states. The states that lose seats, like you just mentioned, California, New York lost one just by 89. 89. If they had 89 more people filling out the census, they would have kept that one seat. New Jersey, is doesn't, there's no impact. It's a net zero. So we have work to do. One of the things that I'm involved with, on that front itself, legislative redistricting. I happen to be the chairman of the Democratic, side of the legislative redistricting committee, and that's something that will happen when we get the census numbers. Also as as an incoming state chairman, by virtue of vote this mid June, the state chairman also selects the federal redistricting committee in terms of getting 2 appointments to that commission. So there's a lot of work, and that's part of what we probably should have discussed in the first segment that I was on. But so there's a lot to come back and talk about.
Yes.
That is going to be and I'm going to be able to provide some upfront insights, and some inside baseball as far as we position ourselves, from a state, and how we're going to be a player on a national stage as well.
Well, thank you so much. And yeah, absolutely. We have to have you back because your analysis is really good, right? Like, because you do have a combination of inside baseball and just your knowledge as what it takes to do things on a grassroots level. So we very much appreciate you coming, like not just once, but twice, coming back to answer those questions. So definitely.
Jonathan, I listened to the segment in between with with Linda and Malcolm. Linda I went to high school with. Malcolm, his aunt was, my campaign treasurer.
Wow.
When I went, when I was telling you I ran for council, I know his mother. I was impressed with, the young lady. So I listened to that whole segment, and it kind of just connects you. And one of the things I was looking at it for was because I told you I like to watch and look for young talent. And I saw some young talent in that,
some serious young talent.
Yeah.
And the other thing to appreciate too is that this is art taking place right here in East Orange and Orange.
Absolutely.
So I didn't, let's not lose sight of that too, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The
right in our neighborhood,
city brewery.
Yes.
So we got all our towns together.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much. for coming out again and enlightening us, because that was great, right? Like we learned stuff that we would not normally know. But I do want to formally welcome back my good friend, one of best friend for like 30 years now, right? Like good brother. I'm glad that, as Donna mentioned, I'm glad that you are back. I'm glad that you are healthy. I'm glad that you are better. Bashir Akinyele, thank you so much, man, for coming back on to ask some of these questions and give some of your opinion on these things that are going on. So welcome back, brother.
Oh man, Hotep family, Hotep. Glad to be back. Glad to be back. Glad to be back on the All Politics Are Local radio show, number one political hip hop radio show in America, no doubt, number one, no doubt. I appreciate it, man. I hate to be back on the show on this segment because it involves one of my comrades, one of my good friends, soldier, a real soldier, man, for Black power, Black liberation, and social justice. My good friend Sharif Amenhotep, has suffered a tremendous tragedy in his family. His oldest daughter, Sanaa Amenhotep, unfortunately was kidnapped and murdered. We all found out actually yesterday morning. We found out about it. Those of us in his extended family, in his activist family, we found out yesterday morning. I'm just devastated because Sanaa, both my wife and I have known Sanaa since she was born. In fact, my wife, she offered Salima, the mother of Sanaa, a African name, Injiri, which is a Kiswahili African name. It means daughter of a warrior. And my wife had offered that name to the Amenhotep, little baby Amenhotep, but the family went another direction, but it was cool. But the point I'm making is that we've known Sanaa for a long time. And she was also a student at Weequahic High School, where I teach history at. And just devastated, man. The Weequahic family just heartbroken about the news of Sanaa's murder. I don't really know what more to say. I'm just like, I'm upset, I'm outraged, I'm devastated, but we as a community, as Black people, we have to do all that we can, man, to protect our children.
I asked Bashir to come on because Bashir actually knows Sanaa better than most of us. We all know Sharif.
Right.
And I do want to say that Sharif, his comportment in this whole thing has been incredible.
Yes.
True to his persona, and there's so many reasons why he's beloved in this community. He went all the way down to Columbia, South Carolina,
right,
and was joined by the national team of the New Black Panther Party, and by Sanaa's mother's church.
Yes.
And they literally took that, not just her case, but they took that issue and that whole part of that state by storm.
Yes.
Right. It's horrible, of course, that it ended with Sanaa being found, having been violated and murdered. But it raised an important question that we have not been dealing with for so long. And this is this whole question of missing children. One advocate said that there are over 4,000 missing children in the state of South Carolina alone. Our community,
in the state of South Carolina alone.
The state of South Carolina alone. When you talk about our community, you talk about missing children. You talk about missing Black girls.
Yeah.
Right. And and it's just one of the things that we struggle with on the social justice front for a minute, if you will, is that the focus overwhelmingly is on Black men, but Black women and children get killed by the police too,
Yeah.
right? And their cases sometimes don't get the attention that they should. Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland were kind of But just as they don't get the attention, we're not giving enough attention to this whole question of missing Black girls in our community, or that's now being framed as human trafficking, right? Sharif made that a national issue. This story became a national story by virtue of the work that they put in diligently and very vigilantly, bringing all the proper sectors in the community that need to come out and work together, like how we're trying to figure out how to do that in Newark, right? He did that in South Carolina. So we really want to make sure that we appreciate that. And I wanted Bathsheba to, give us that word about his child, because she was a living, breathing person who had an identity. She was only 15 years old,
right?
But she had a full life as a 15-year-old, and she had quite a personality that she inherited from both of her parents. And Bathsheba gave us a taste of that, so it was important to share that. And at some point, we need to come back and really unpack that bigger issue.
Yeah, and the reason why I thought it was good to end the conversation we were having, Saeed, was about all the community organizations that were involved, and the statement that they need to be involved because there's a crisis going on, right? When you're talking about 4,000 in just South Carolina and other places, then that's a crisis, and we are going to revisit it. We are going to have another show that's going to be dedicated to human trafficking in our community, because I don't think we talk about that, right? Like, right. I think that the police brutality issue, yes, it affects Black men a lot more, but the way it affects Black women are different, and it also can allow us to see some of the harshness in this system, right? Like, if a Black man had a knife and he was killed, like, no one would question it, but we question it with Black women, which is a good thing because we can see that it shouldn't be done, right? Their use of force is way too much. But on the issue of trafficking, that's a tough question as well, because it's like, well, who's taking these girls from our community? Now, there are other members of our community who are doing this, right? And
it's a loaded bag, and they're probably both sides of that.
Has to be dealt with. To be dealt with straight up, because this is like, there's so much of
like we are trying to deal with this question of violence in the community. It's right there.
Absolutely. We do have another guest who is on.
We love you, beloved. Hang in there. Take the time you need to heal.
Right. Absolutely, man. But we do have another guest who is here, and he was Dr. Akil Koflani. We only have a few minutes, so I just want to make sure that we get a. Are you having trouble hearing us right now, Dr. Koflani? Kalafani?
There you go.
Well, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I can hear you now.
All right, cool. All right, so we only have a few minutes because we are getting ready to transition to another segment, but we wanted to get what your thoughts were on Biden's first 100 days.
Yeah. So. When we think about Biden and this time period, we can look at it from two perspectives. One is from a national perspective. A lot of people see it who want the vaccine. They've been getting the vaccine. But when we look at it from the perspective of African Americans, what we have and have not gotten in the process, that's another kind of a dialogue, right? So that, I've been on social media looking at a lot of people's feedback from last night with his 100-day speech, or night before, whatever. Basically, the point was that, reparations hasn't happened. There's this whole bill that happened for Asians to get protection, but where's the protection for African Americans, right? So then I think that the thing is that we as a community, and this is one of the reasons why I ran, is that we've got to continue to push on these issues when people are elected, even if it's Democrats, that we've got to make sure that our issues are brought to bear, right? That is not just something that is that we have this generic response that we're concerned about everybody, but we also have to be the ones who defend our own positions. We haven't seen the major issue with jobs in our communities, the police issues, reparations. None of these things have happened, and things are happening for other communities. So where do we fit within the context of that, right?
Now the question I have, and I know you ran for Congress, and you ran on an agenda that was like, we have to stop settling for less, right?
Correct.
The question that I have is that a lot of very progressive people are giving Biden a lot of accolades for what he is trying to pass, right? Like the infrastructure bill, the George Floyd Act, the Voting Rights Act. Like he's spoken out He put legislation up. They're fighting to try to get it passed because they have a thin Senate majority. It's 50-50 in the tying vote. They've got Joe Manchin, who's like, I don't know if I want to play, right? So given the politics and given the things that he has put forward in legislation and has openly advocated for, like in the State of the Union address, do you think that is more toward, do you think he's doing more toward the reasons why you were running than you thought?
I think that when we look at that particular question, I think that there's still some things to be desired, right? And that even though these things are pushed forward, we haven't drilled down in the process. So like every time we see legislation for infrastructure, I mean, that's a great thing. We need infrastructure development. But where are the jobs for African Americans when we talk about infrastructure? You can go to almost any of these infrastructural sites, and the jobs that you see African Americans and Latinos having are dropping cones, directing traffic. But the jobs that pay 75 to 100, whatever the highest paying jobs, do you ever see us with any of those jobs? Do you see us as crane operators? Do you see us as site directors for those major construction jobs that are going on across the country? We unfortunately don't get those jobs, and we have to say part of it maybe is capacity, right? So where there is capacity, when are we getting those jobs when the capacity exists? Because that's oftentimes the response is that we're not ready, right? That there's not enough women-owned contractors who are ready. But when are they getting those sub jobs, right? So I think we have to dig deeper than just the surface, right? I'm a sociologist. My thing is that to talk about the surface is good. It looks good, and it is good on some levels, but how does it affect the poorer people in the community? Infrastructure is good that we need to have, but is it happening in our neighborhoods? Is it happening, those dollars that are going to states that are then going to counties that are then going to municipalities is the redevelopment that's happening in those kinds of infrastructural places? Are the streets in our neighborhoods being repaired? So I think we have to look at a wide variety of issues, but we have to dig deep in them.
Now, Joe Biden has actually said that, right? Susan Rice has actually said that bluntly, that we have to look at the effects of every policy and how it affects African Americans. Like, how does infrastructure affect African Americans? Do you think that they are putting forth an effort to do that? What is your position on that? Because in some ways, it's in a position of they're saying things progressive want to hear, and how do progressives react to that?
I think that the question is, we have to, like in the 10th district, show us the money, right? Where are the dollars that are going there, and where are the enforcement of those policies that are necessary to make it happen? We want to see that the types of things that are being advocated for actually come into being. And when you say that there's such a thin majority, we can take Obama's first term in office, and what the things that I think that the challenges that they both run into is that not only the majority might be thin, but unlike the Republicans force their way through and into the things, even regardless of how thin their majority is, that they push the issue and that they run as opposed to overly pushing. And I'm a consensus builder, but in terms of overly pushing for consensus with Republicans, that I think some things have to be kind of pushed through regardless. And some things can happen with the power of the pen, right? So that something that to address the things going on with the violence for African Americans, that's just the power of the pen. That doesn't need the same thing that happened with other folks that can happen here. So with the reparations, there's an easy point of reparations, for instance, that I suggested that could happen with the power of the pen, right? Mm-hmm. The things that other people or progressives are looking for are what's going to happen with the student loans. Now, there was talk about this, but we're still waiting on the student loan thing. Okay. And, do you think that's going to happen? I'm not sure. I'm hoping that it does, because it would make a major impact. But some people are suggesting that the student loan piece is the majority of the people who the student loan money would go to are white European Americans. And then that becomes another issue, right?
That is true. Now, Dr. Kalafani, we're going to have you back because your analysis is always good, right? Like when you're talking about what things stand for, and there's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of complications in that. So we're definitely going to have you back. But there's one last question because we're getting ready to start the next segment of our show. Okay. But very quickly, you answered this question the last time you were here, but Bashir, do you want to ask him that question?
Unmute my mic. Yes.
Yes.
Hotep, Dr. Kalafani.
Hotep, brother.
How you doing?
Glad to see you back, first of all.
Oh, brother. Hey, brother. Thanks for all your support. Big shout out to you and, of course, DJ Rhino. Well, our hip hop question is, man, who's your favorite hip hop artist, man? Or who are you vibing to right now? I think you already answered who's your favorite hip hop artist, but who are you kind of vibing to right now in terms of hip hop?
Yeah, I got hooked to a new brother who's doing some interesting things. Brother's name is Toby. What is his brother's name? Out of Texas, Toby.
Oh man,
the Nigerian brother out of Texas. Can't remember his last name right now. Okay. Njukwe or something like that. But he's been having some dope music that's going on, and he's been pushing some progressive stuff. So I appreciate that.
It's Toby Dubam and
exactly.
Yeah, word.
That's what's up.
But I cannot leave today without saying my heartfelt sympathies to our brother Sharif and his family. I don't know if you guys already did that, but my heart goes out to his family, and anything that we can do to be of assistance. We're here. We feel the pain together. She was one of the babies at Adelaide when I was the president of the board of trustees at Adelaide when she was a student there. Her mother was a teacher there, so I feel for them.
Ashe. Thank you, Dr. Kalafani.
So thank you so much for coming by. And we are getting ready to go to our next segment. We are going to and DJ Rhino, do you want to introduce? Bashir, do you want to introduce DJ Rhino's segment, the state of hip hop? Because I don't know, I'm just so happy to have you back, man. And
I'm happy to be here.
In the studio.
I just gotta get my spirit up. Let me see if I can,
all the stuff, right?
Spirit up.
Come on, man. So
let me see if I get all right, here you go. I'm see if I get my hip hop spirit up. Because we got the greatest DJ on the planet. No, not just on the planet Earth, but in the universe.
That's right.
DJ Rhino. Every time DJ Rhino, I hear your name, I think about when Lil Wayne says he had a rap song, hip hop song back in the day, right? Go DJ, who's my DJ, right? So I think about you, DJ Rhino. Every time I hear your name, I'm like Lil Wayne. Go DJ, that's my DJ. Go DJ, that's my DJ. DJ Rhino, my brother, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Do this, baby? You ready to lift our spirits up? You ready to, plug into the hip hop world, right? And educate us about real hip hop culture, right? Real hip hop music, real hip hop DJing. You ready, DJ Rhino?
I'm here, brother.
That's what's up, baby. That's what's up. All right, go DJ. That's my DJ. Listen, y'all listening to DJ Rhino on the number one political hip hop radio show in America. That is the All Politics on Local radio show.
Oh, you sound like you're coming back.
All right, DJ Rhino, go ahead, my brother.
Yo, man. Much love, Bashir, man, and you actually lift my hip hop spirits, man, when it comes to this show, man, because you are my reason for even being on the show. You the one that to the show. You had me come on the show as a guest DJ, and that guest spot turned into a permanent spot, and then I became music director and DJ at the show. So, and that was all through you when I invited you to the radio show that I was working on prior to this. So. Much respect to you, man, and it's definitely good seeing you after all that what you've been through health wise. It's good to see your face, hear your voice, man. I know you're still trying to recover, but bro, much love to you, family. You know what I'm saying?
Much
to
love.
the queen, to the seeds. You know what I'm saying? Much love, man. You know,
Ashe, Ashe, Ashe,
much
Ashe.
love.
No doubt.
Definitely, man.
No
Definitely.
doubt.
And before I can even get into anything else, you know, this was my first time hearing about the outcome of baby girl, of what happened to the young sister, man. And because I was kind of following, you know, piece by piece, I was kind of following, you know, what was gonna be the outcome of you know, her missing. You know what I'm saying? And, man, this is my first time hearing that, man. That hurts, bro. That
Yeah, man.
so
Yeah.
yeah, again, you know, much
Great time.
respect and condolences to brother Sharif. That's
Yeah.
I don't have any words for that, man. That's hard, bro. That hurts.
No doubt, brother. I'm pretty sure you understand, brother. He feels you, man.
Bruh.
I
Yeah.
know, man.
Yeah.
I know,
But
brother. Especially when you got, when black men have daughters, it's tough.
seriously, bro.
Yeah, for real. But DJ
Yeah.
Rhino, thank you, brother. Thank you, man. You are the man. Your knowledge of hip hop, right, is what attracted me to you, right, man. I said, this brother knows hip hop culture, history, music. All right. I said, we gotta have this brother on our show. So I'm glad you still rocking with us, brother. I'm
Thank you,
so
bro.
glad you're here, man, and educating a whole new generation on real hip hop music, man. Hip hop music has never died, brother. It still lives, but I tell people that all the time. It's still out in the world, brother. Despite
And you know,
rap music, right? Corporate control rap music, or as my son say, they call it McDonald's rap.
McDonald's rap. Oh,
They
I
call
got
it
to put that
fast
in the
food
poll.
rap, right? They said, that's what my sons call it. They call it fast food rap.
yeah, that's what it is.
Package it up and deliver it. Give it to the people. It's nothing of substance. Nothing nutritional. And so DJ Rhino, you are educating a whole new generation on hip hop, man. Real hip hop music, man. That's very important because I love this music. I got into this I got into hip hop music back in 1979 when I was in 5th grade. Rapper's Delight, and Curtis Blow Christmas Rhyme. I've been a fan of hip hop ever since, man. And I love it, man. So DJ Rhino, please continue to educate us, brother. Do your music, do your DJing. All right.
Yo, I mean, well, the whole thing about me educating people on hip hop is because hip hop educated me. I've said it before to Brother Zayed and John before on the show that hip hop is what got me into the Black Panthers and Malcolm X and Minister Farrakhan and getting involved in the movements and learning about culture and the whole diaspora of our people, man. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop started me on that. Hip hop, there was a time where hip hop was very educational, and hip hop is what got me on that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why even me being a part of the show, it just made sense to me in the beginning because that's where my heart and my spirit, my head was. So yeah, again, much love to you, and all of us gonna continue to educate through hip hop and everything else that we do. I wanna start off by I'm gonna start off saying once again, rest in peace to Black Rob. They had the brothers' services today, this morning at 9 a.m. They live streamed it on YouTube. You could probably find it on YouTube, Revolt TV. The brother Robert Ross, Black Rob, we lost him on April 17th, and that was a crazy blow. When I heard it at the time, I was still in the midst of mourning DMX, and I was doing a live mix, and then got the word in the middle of the live mix that we had lost Black Rob. But much condolences to the Ross family. I heard they got Grandmaster Cass to MC the service. So that was special. That was big ups right there to even think of the brother Grandmaster Cass from Cold Crush 4 Brothers, the original hip hop pioneer icon. So big ups to him. Also, today was also another mogul, the mogul Percy Miller Master P. It was his born day today. So I want to say big ups to Master P. He was the king of No Limit family. He came out of the grunge of New Orleans and made a name for himself from nothing. And I mean, he's multi-million dollar mogul right now. You know what I'm saying? Percy Miller, Master P, happy born day. He looked out for his whole community. He looked out for his family. He represented for New Orleans. And you know,
What's his son's name, DJ Rhino?
Romeo. You said his son's name?
Yeah, that's it, Romeo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So and yeah, he put his son on. You know, he looked out for a lot of people, man. He looked out for a lot of people. When you think about, you know, when people like himself and Russell Simmons and even the Diddy or whoever, when they do that, you know, there's a lot of families that get that you know, they get fed, man. You know what I mean? They, you know, their lifestyles change. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we got to look at Master P for that, man. How many people he gave jobs and helped their families, you know, get out of whatever situation they were in. And he did a whole lot in the time that he's been in the game.
Master P made a valuable contribution to our struggle on the social justice front. I don't know if any of y'all can remember the epic Million Youth March. Bashir will remember because he rolled with it.
Absolutely.
Right, we had the Sada Shakur Freedom Fighters caravan straight out of Jersey, about 60 deep. Right,
yes.
over to the Mama
Zahid, did you say Bashir can remember because he old?
No, Bashir was with me.
Oh,
he was with me. He was literally with me. Don't be starting.
Donna shooting shots, man. Donna on his shooting shots.
Donna tried to start some mess.
You know,
no, but you know, we had a hole that needed to be filled, a tech hole that cost about $10,000. Master P donated $10,000 at a critical time when we needed to deal with some of our tech needs at that right before the march was supposed to hit. And it was an important come through for him. And they came after him. They gave him some hell about that too. He had to go quiet for a minute with his stuff because the pushback within forces who did not want to see the Million Youth March take place certainly made themselves known to him. So I definitely wanted to shout that particular contribution of that brother to our movement that a lot of people don't know about.
Khaled gave him a big shout out. They started to attack.
Yes, he did. Long live our big brother Khalid Abdul Muhammad, our Black Power general.
And shout out and shout out DJ Rhino for educating us because D Nice was interviewed on WBLS yesterday, and he got the opportunity to talk about him producing self-destruction. And I knew that because you educated us last week. So when they were talking about it, I was in the chat like, yeah, you produced it, and I sounded real educated because you told me that last week. So thank you.
That's right. She got a whole week's of knowledge.
She got her bragging rights off of that D Nice information, boy.
D Nice got a nice little for a commercial out.
He's making moves, Dave.
Yeah, let me tell you, man. D Nice. This is what I'm saying. D Nice came a long way. People don't understand. D Nice. I remember when D Nice was a young dude coming up under KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions, and they had a demo called the TR-808 is coming, and it was about D Nice because D Nice was making beats on this TR-808 drum machine. It was a rolling drum machine back then, and they made this little demo for Red Alert. And we loved it, you know, as teenagers back then. We loved it. We hoped that Red Alert would play it every weekend, you know. But that's where D Nice comes from. He comes from that and doing little beats and just being a roadie and a part of the Boogie Down Productions crew with KRS-One and Scott LaRock. He's actually the dude that Scott LaRock was trying to protect when Scott got murdered that night.
Wow.
He was trying to protect D Nice because D Nice was in the middle of a beat at the time. D Nice, he had his own record. He put out his own album, and he had that major single called "Call Me D Nice," which is the music that you hear in the commercial, in the car commercial that he's in. And then then of course he did Self-Destruction, but then we haven't really heard from D Nice. He did a couple of productions here and there, but we didn't really hear too much of his name for a while. And then COVID comes and the pandemic comes, and and we got the whole quarantine thing happening, and he becomes this huge DJ. Michelle Obama and Oprah and everybody's tuning into him on Instagram, and he just reinvented himself from that. And it's crazy, man. So it's like D-Nice is back, the return of D-Nice. He's got an ill story. I would love to hear his story on like a biopic or in a book or something.
Big shout out to D-Nice.
Word
DJ
up.
Rado, you ready, baby?
Yeah, I got another one for you. We're going to say rest in peace to Steezo. If anybody remembers Steezo, he started off as EPMD's dancer.
Yes.
And then he became a solo artist on his own.
Right.
And, Steezo, man, we lost him just a year ago, yesterday. And just want to say rest in peace to that brother, man. It's crazy how many hip-hop records sampled the drums off of his record, which was from an old band called Skull Snaps. But so many people sampled his version for the drums on a song that he had called It's My Turn. And everybody sampled the drums off of Steezo's record. So just off of sampling rights, I'm sure he's got something as well as Skull Snaps. But yes, Steezo, man, he started off as this dancer for EPMD. And if you remember the You Got to Chill video, he's in the background. He got the yellow jumpsuit and the sweater, the turtleneck, and he's doing these wild dances. And everybody noticed him because it was like two dancers, and he was the best one out of the two. And everybody remembered his moves. And then from there, it was like he just got shine. And he ended up getting a deal down the line and put out his own music. So rest in peace, Steezo. We lost him a year ago yesterday.
Ashe.
Word up. And then also, the reason why I got this shirt on right here, yesterday was also the anniversary of Whodini's third album. A lot of people think the second album, but they actually had an album before the Escape album. But their third album was called Back in Black, which came out in 1986, April 29th. So happy anniversary to Whodini. And that was the album that had Funky Beat. That was the album that had One Love. Yeah, that was the video for that was crazy. Yeah. I remember that the video was phenomenal and everybody was talking about it. I remember back in the days, you remember when Video Music Box was the big thing, So yeah, I mean that album it's got a few hits on there, man. That were pretty big in the hood as well as the clubs. So big ups to Whodini, man, and rest in peace again to Ecstasy of Whodini. We lost him like in the latter part of last year. So definitely rest in peace to Ecstasy of Whodini, and condolences to his family and Grandmaster D and Jalil of Whodini as well.
Ashe. DJ Ronald, that knowledge, brother. That's why we are blessed to have you on the All Positive Local Radio Show, brother. Your knowledge of hip hop is serious, brother. You're not just a DJ, brother. You a hip hop historian, brother.
Walking encyclopedia.
Yes,
like I said,
we gotta get you started writing some commentaries, brother.
Look, the things that, like I was saying earlier, the things that got me into hip hop is the reason why I felt that it was necessary to make sure that I did my research. Because I mean, of course, I grew up with it, so I had a lot of this knowledge on my own just through living it. But you still do your research, man. I had to do research on a lot of my pioneers, the ones who started in the very, very beginning. I had to do a lot of research on that. You know what I'm saying? Because I came up in the boom bap era. Like I came up like when Run DMC and Tila Rock and then LL Cool J and all, like that was my era. We were coming up during that. So the era that came before that, I knew some of those songs, I knew some of those groups and those artists, but I didn't know their history and their story. So over the years, I've had to do my own research. You know what I'm saying? That's what you do when you love something. That's what you do when you have passion for something. That's what you do when you want to call yourself something. I call myself hip hop because I am hip hop. I live it, and I make sure that I'm up on what's going on around me when it comes to hip hop and what hip hop is connected to. Because hip hop is connected to a lot of things, which is again why I'm part of this show, because hip hop is connected to politics. It is connected to the streets and activism. It is connected to education. You know what I'm saying? These are all the things that we talk about on this show, and that's why hip hop is a part of it.
DJ
And
Rhino.
Rhino, as
John,
Mayor Baraka says, how do you call yourself? What's he say? How do you call yourself an organizer when you don't read? And so you have to read. You have to read, and you know, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, "Study and show yourself approved." So we definitely have to read. But also wanted to say, and I'm going to send you the interview about D Nice, because the interview, I can't the VJ, I guess you would call, from WBLS. I can't think of her name, but she did a great interview with D Nice yesterday. And D Nice, that you had started talking about, Rhino, was him producing self-destruction. But what he said was that he never wanted to put himself in a position where he had to run after the radio to kind of get them to continue promoting him and to, putting him out there. So he, if you will, began to reimagine himself. And right now, like you said, and he mentioned something about always having a camera, when they were out with Scott LaRock and taking pictures. So it brought me to mind to the young brother that they did the thing on Biggie about. So D Nice right now, he has another career, and he said he went to a film school in New York, and he went back and learned how to be a photographer. Gordon Parks inspired him. So he has a whole nother career that inspired him, and he's doing photography really, really big now. And I forgot, somebody just hired him to do something, and he said it just opened up doors for him to do so much more. But I'll send you the interview, and maybe we could talk about it down the line. But the thing that
he's been doing photography for a while. He's been doing it for a while, for some years now. So that's what I'm saying. Like when we didn't hear from him musically, that's what he was doing. He was doing photography and other stuff. He stayed connected to the game, but just in other ways.
And he created his own lane. He didn't wait for somebody else to open the doors. Basically, what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
DJ Rhino, real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Give a shout out. Got to give a shout out to our own man, Reverend Conrad Tillett, aka Minister Conrad Muhammad. He was asked to read off the obituary at DMX's going home services on Sunday.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, he gave a big shot. He did a good job, and he gave like a short speech as well. And of course the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan spoke.
I saw the minister's part. I saw the part when Sister Tashira spoke, his ex-wife. I saw when his kids got on and spoke.
His daughter's poem too, Rhino. We have to get that. His daughter's poem was fire.
Yeah, that was serious. Serious. I was glad she was able to get through it.
Yeah.
So, Rhino, can I ask you, what do you think about Biden's first 100 days? Do you have any thoughts on it?
Nah. I'm waiting to see, like brother said earlier, I'm waiting to see the money and the jobs. I'm waiting to see that. And plus also these things take time to go over and all of that. So I'm just kind of waiting. I'm in waiting.
That's cool. Okay, got you. Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But I do,
it's almost like how it was with the George Floyd thing, and I was surprised that it turned out the way it did, because I was really expecting it to go the way it's always gone, and so that's kind of how I am with this. I'm kind of expecting it to go the way it's always gone, and you're gonna have to surprise me.
So I do want to say, I know everybody's been saying about the legislation that was signed on the Asian Americans legislation that was signed on in terms of the violence against.
Yeah, that one ticked me off. I was real pissed off with that. Because it was such immediate reaction. It was such immediate reaction that and it's like, come on now, we've been going through violence for how long in this country, and come on, I mean, I don't know, man.
but but I just want to make sure that we understand that was a piece of legislation that came through the House. It wasn't an executive order. It was a piece of legislation that came through the House that he signed off on. So that's it was a piece of legislation that came through, and as the president, he signed off on. So it came through, and that's what it. And I guess people would be upset. You would be upset if it was an executive order, not that a piece of legislation that came through, and as president, he signed off on. That's what it was. You know, the Senate and the Congress put forth a piece of legislation and he signed off on it. So it came through the normal route that, of how legislation is passed. And that's what so it's not good, better, and different. It's a process, and that's what happened. And that's what I think people should understand. That's how legislation moves forward. The Congress and the Senate send up legislation, and the president either signs off or he vetoes it. And in this case, he signed off on it.
But I think the pushback was because you had bipartisan support for this, whereas for a lot of like even the George Floyd bill, which is kind of tame, right? You don't have bipartisan support for that yet, right? So when you have all these marches about police brutality and murdering Black people in the streets, and all of these things that affect Black people that have been so like broadly dealt with, you have George Floyd bill that just gets held up. There was an anti-lynching bill that was passed like 50 years too late. And so I think people are looking at, not that they don't mind the bill for Asians passing, right? That we think, yeah, of course it should pass, right? We think it should pass quickly. But we also are reminded that the anti-Blackness is deep.
But
I think that those are people saying, like, these people are anti-Black. They're so anti-Black that when you deal with violence against Black people, all of a sudden it becomes a partisan issue.
It gets ignored.
But then again, Jonathan, we have to say that that's not a Biden problem. That's coming through the Congress and through the Senate. So the Congress and Senate are and because he actually said, and as a matter of fact, what he said was the George Floyd bill needs to be on my desk before the anniversary of his murder.
Donna, you're right. You're right about that. But I think that the point is people don't care about the distinctions, and they're okay not to, right? Because they're like, look, because they see anti-Blackness, right? Now maybe Biden is like, we need to pass the George Floyd bill, but we know George Floyd bill didn't get passed. So I think people are responding to the anti-Blackness that's been thrown in their face. Yeah. And I think we should acknowledge that that's some anti-Blackness that's been thrown and smushed in your face, even though we absolutely agree with the legislation that was passed. Like it should be passed. Should have been passed a long time ago, right? Hate crimes against Asians are new, right? They've been going on for a while. That should have been passed a long time ago.
But what I'm saying is that we have to educate so that people get frustrated and do the right thing. And what's the right thing to do? Start picking up your phone and call your legislators and say, if you can do this with this Violence Against Asian Act within so many days, we need to get to George Floyd. So that's what we have to do, is educate and take action.
And to the organizing piece.
Yeah,
we have about 3 minutes. We have about 3 minutes left. What you want to say? What y'all want to talk about? We got 3 minutes.
What was you gonna say, Zaid? I just didn't hear what Zaid said. I'm sorry.
No, I was echoing your sentiment. You were right, and I said we have to seize the moment too. We have to, recognize the moment when we have it and seize it.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
So only thing I want to say was a great day out in Philly, and I think Zaid talked about that at the top of the show. Down in Philly when we were down there rallying in support of Mamiya. I think it was a great week last Saturday, and just everybody getting together and being out on one accord last Saturday was a really great feeling. So that's
we do that every year on April 24th. This year had a particular urgency because of Mamiya's health. But we were at least 1,000 deep, and true to local media press form, unfortunately, right? As important as this particular issue is, and as sharpened as it is right now in Philly politics because of the wishy-washy stance of D.A. Krasner, right? It did not get the media that it should have. It did not get the media coverage it should have gotten, right?
Education.
So we have to say that and continue to push the issue. While Mumia tries to survive and recover, the best treatment for his health is his freedom. That's the line, and we're pushing now all out to get him released, whether it be through as a consequence of a broader call to release aging prisoners, which would also get Russell Maroon Schultz out, another Panther political prisoner who's fighting stage 4 colon cancer and survived COVID. Right now, 77 years old, been locked up for 49 years, right? We play that right on that line, we get them both out. So the push is to get them both out and not hold anything back in the push to do that.
So with that, it was a great Saturday, and I just want us to continue to educate. We have a great civics moment earlier in the show, and going back to, we have to educate and get engaged civically so that we can push our legislators to be reminded that they work for us, the people.
All right, thank you. And we have come to the end of the night. But Bashir, I just got to give you the last say on this. So final words, you got the final words before we say goodnight.
Oh, wow. Freedom and independence, brother. Yes, we need to vote. We need to be engaged in the system. But at the same time, we must still struggle for freedom and independence. That means Black self-determination, right? Black liberation, you know. And also, I just want to say pouring libation, pouring water on the earth for our new ancestor, Sanaa Amenhotep. Ibaye Ashe, for real.
Asheo.
Asheo. Asheo.
All right, thank you, Bashir, man.
No doubt.
And it's good night. All politics are local. We'll be back next week. And in tribute to you, my brother Bashir, Hotep.
Hotep, my brother. Hotep. Hotep.